Chapter 8:15. Bailey Ning Bing, I'll do it. Gao Lan, count me in. Leave the last guy to me. The third, fourth, and sixth elites of the elf race said one after another. Alright, I'll adjust when the time comes. After all, it's not up to us to decide who's going up against whom. We can only do this for now. Everyone has analyzed the situation very thoroughly. No matter what the humans do, our chances of winning are higher than theirs. The only thing I'm worried about is that the humans have hidden elites who haven't appeared yet. So, everyone, use these 3 days to adjust yourselves to peak condition. We must win. The elf race was a race that loved nature. Under normal circumstances, they stood aloof from worldly affairs. Among the top 10 galaxies, they were the only one that had the least conflicts with the other major races. However, when it came to a battle that involved the honor of the elf race, the proud elves would never back down. The same thing was happening in the Tyrants and Protoss bases. They decided on the lineup list, analyzed the situation of the opposing cultivators, and tentatively decided on who to choose as their opponent. Even the Zergs, who had a bye on the first day, were not idle. The top 5 ranking competition was a round-robin competition. No matter what, any 2 galaxies would have to fight each other. It was just a matter of order. Compared to true strength, all tactical arrangements were secondary. Going up early was nothing more than exposing a little of their strength. As long as they were strong enough, so what if they were exposed completely? So, although the Zergs had a bye, they still had to treat it seriously. Relatively speaking, the humans were the most casual. Humaingyang only said a few words, and after confirming the candidates, they went their separate ways. It was not that Humaingyang did not take it seriously, but the situation of the Proud Heavens members was special. She seemed to be the leader, but among the participants, other than Gao Lan and Bailey Ning Bing, who would treat her as the leader. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, Humaingyang trusted Chen Hao and the Proud Heavens members. She believed that Chen Hao knew what to do, and she did not have to interfere. She knew very well that the hatred of the Proud Heavens members for her could not be eliminated in a short time. In the void, a stream of light that completely concealed its aura, so that even heavenly immortal elites could not detect it, shuttled back and forth at a terrifying speed. Your aircraft has developed intelligence? Although Humaingyang was certain that Chen Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven all had their own miniature aircraft, she was still shocked when she actually stepped into Chen Hao's aircraft. Small Wisdom No. 1's voice was full of emotions. If it wasn't an artifact spirit with intelligence, then what was it? It wouldn't be strange if it was a powerful legacy artifact, but this was an aircraft. Under normal circumstances, there were very few artifact spirits in aircraft, let alone artifact spirits with sentience. They were all controlled by humans. However, Chen Hao's aircraft completely followed Chen Hao's orders. It automatically analyzed and operated. What Chen Hao needed to do was to provide sufficient energy. Rouge Horse, my name is Xiaoji. Chen Hao did not pay attention to Humaingyang, but Little Wisdom No. 1 imitated a realistic light and shadow energy body. It raised its small face and stared at Humaingyang, who was half a body taller than it. What did you call me? Humaingyang's eyes widened as she stared at the image that suddenly appeared. She was angry and shocked. Angry was of course what Xiaoji called her. Needless to say, Chen Hao was deliberately teasing her. What surprised her was that the energy and the way this little brat was formed was completely beyond her understanding. It was not formed by the energy of spiritual sense or spiritual sense. But it did have intelligence. This was a little too strange. Crash, Rouge Horse, Humaingyang. Beep beep beep. In an instant, a curtain of light enveloped the entire aircraft, with Humaingyang at the center. If not for the fact that Humaingyang did not feel any danger, she would have attacked directly. But immediately, the voice of Xiaoji No. 1, as well as the image characters, data, and other complicated deduction symbols that appeared out of thin air in front of her eyes, made Humaingyang's attractive cherry lips form an O shape. Chen Hao, you bastard, what are you doing? Do you think I won't destroy it? Ha! You also have moments of fear? Damn, you're really strong. Don't be afraid, I can't eat you. I'm just analyzing your data. Boo. Stop immediately, or I'll attack directly. Although Hu Mainyang did not understand what Chen Hao was doing to her with this strange aircraft that was completely beyond her understanding, she knew that it was not something good. Therefore, she violently summoned her energy, and the Tao laws around her surged as she warned him. Master, Rouge Horse is really unruly. Its energy is beyond what Xiaoji can bear. Please give me instructions. Take it, this is a crazy woman. We can't lower ourselves to her level, yes. Hu Mainyang took a deep breath, then another and another. Only then did she calm down the impulse to immediately ravage Chen Hao. But her face was still flushed with anger, and her chest heaved. No matter when, she had always been firmly on top of Chen Hao, but for the first time, she completely lost control. It was not that Chen Hao was stronger than her, but that the miniature aircraft had shocked her so much that she had lost her composure. This also gave her a deeper understanding of Chen Hao. She even suspected that when she had forced Chen Hao to be captured and dual cultivated with him for decades, Chen Hao had done it on purpose. Although she did not want to admit it, this feeling made her feel a little frustrated. However, she did not know that Chen Hao did not have his aircraft with him at that time, and that bastard old god had deliberately dropped the ball. Seeing Hu Mainyang like this, Chen Hao was in a good mood. You'll cry. Wait and see how I deal with you later, Hu Mainyang said angrily. I'll wait and see. Tell me, who the hell are you? This aircraft has never appeared in the 10 major galaxies, let alone the vast universe galaxy. Almost every member of Proud Heaven has one, right? Don't tell me you're just a native of a barren planet like the Boundless Planet. Why should I tell you? You don't have to tell me. I don't mind telling the world what I saw today, and let the knowledgeable people analyze it. After stepping out of the primitive secret realm, perhaps the leaders of the major galaxies will be very curious? Hu Mainyang stared fiercely at Chen Hao, puffed out her chest, and said in a threatening manner. Chen Hao's smug expression suddenly turned red. Damn it, will a woman like you die if you don't be vicious? If Hu Mainyang really told the world this news, even if Chen Hao was the supreme of Hongmeng, he would still become the prey in the eyes of countless powerful people. Is this your first day knowing me? I've always been like this. Hu Mainyang did not care at all. Don't think that I'm just trying to scare you. Our friendship has not reached that stage yet. Chapter 8:16. Chen Hao, who was about to say something, almost vomited blood when he heard Hu Mainyang's last sentence. Regardless of whether it was true or not, Hu Mainyang's words hit the nail on the head and hit Chen Hao right where it hurt. From Chen Hao's point of view, although the two of them had known each other from the very beginning and had been fighting each other to the point where they were now using each other to their advantage, they still knew each other well. Otherwise, Chen Hao would not have brought Hu Mainyang into his aircraft. Even if he did, he would not have exposed the ability of Xiaoji No. 1. But he did not expect that the curious Hu Mainyang would threaten him with this. If I had known, I would not have brought you in. Next time, remember not to trust me so much. I can't bear it. Speak. Hu Mainyang raised her chin. Mainyang. Unable to restrain his anger, Chen Hao stared at Hu Mainyang for a full 2 minutes before he suddenly shook his head. His expression changed and he said in a very gentle voice, Actually, ever since Hu Mainyang frowned slightly, but then the corners of her mouth curled up. She interrupted Chen Hao and said, You know how to disgust people? Chen Hao, the god of killing. You don't live up to your name. Should I say that since the first time I saw you, you fell in love with me and couldn't help yourself? Wait a minute, Yun Yun. I'm sorry, your tricks might work on a naive, retarded little girl, but they don't work on me. Hu Mainyang's expression and words were normal. But after she finished speaking, she suddenly thought of something and her heart skipped a beat. He obviously had this crazy aircraft, but he deliberately didn't run away. Could it be? Even if it's true, I can't admit defeat. Besides, he's obviously teasing me now. Damn it. Chen Hao cursed under his breath. His expression returned to normal and he said, If you want to know, you can be my soul slave or my woman. Which one do you choose? I welcome the first one very much, but the second one, I'll reluctantly accept. But why should I agree to your conditions? Then do as you wish. You want to know? No way. So what if I announce it to the world? Do you really think I'm afraid? Pa, you've already told me. Don't worry, I'll keep your secret. Are you crazy? You are the one who is sick. I was just trying to trick you, but your reaction was so intense. Obviously, you are not a native of planet Wuji but from another space civilization. Am I right? Hu Mainyang's expression changed faster than flipping the pages of a book. At this moment, she was smiling sweetly as she looked at Chen Hao proudly. Chen Hao was speechless. 200 years had passed, but Chen Hao was still being played by Hu Mainyang. It was not that Chen Hao was weak in this aspect, but compared to Hu Mainyang, this woman's control of his character was a whole street behind. Otherwise, she would not have been able to grasp the rhythm of his pulse time and time again. She did not let Chen Hao's dislike of her exceed the limit, nor let Chen Hao despise her existence. 4 hours later, the distance between the aircraft and the Emperor Chalcedony area had reached a barren area that peak heavenly immortal experts could not reach in 2 days. Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang stepped out of the aircraft. Are you ready? I won't show you any mercy. Thousands of feet away, Dao laws surged around Hu Mainyang's body. It was as if a banished immortal had descended. Her graceful and exquisite body was suffused with rays of 7-colored light. Her long skirt and beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. Bring it on. Boom. Chen Hao also released an extremely powerful aura. His black hair danced wildly, and a surging power surged out like a mountain and a sea. At this moment, his essence, qi, and spirit were completely raised to the limit of not triggering the heavenly punishment, which was the limit of what he could use. If he used a little more, the heavenly punishment would be triggered. The fierce and wild physical body and the pure, condensed, and majestic aura of slaughter were like the arrival of the god of death. The power of a mid-stage heavenly immortal is already so strong? Hu Mainyang's eyes narrowed slightly. If you had advanced to the late-stage heavenly immortal realm, you might be able to contend with me at the peak of the late-stage heavenly immortal realm. But now you're still not strong enough. Come on, let me see how strong you are. As Hu Mainyang spoke, her slender jade-like hands suddenly flashed with a series of afterimages. At an extremely terrifying speed, they condensed into a series of superimposed runes that cut through the void and enveloped Chen Hao. At this moment, endless Tao laws surged between heaven and earth, instantly sucking the energy of heaven and earth within a radius of tens of thousands of miles and fusing it into her hand seal. A terrifying air explosion and heaven and earth shook violently and violently spread out. It made Chen Hao feel as if he had fallen into a bottomless quagmire. His body stiffened. Break. The fist radiance was like a dazzling star as it whistled out. At the same time, Chen Hao's figure suddenly flashed and tore apart Hu Mainyang's terrifying energy pressure like a gust of wind breaking through the waves. Rumble, the hand seal and fist shadows collided, and the sound was like thunder from the ninth heaven resounding through the void. The first collision had caused the mountains and the earth to shake. Not to mention the ordinary cultivators in the primitive secret realm, even experts like Chu Feiyang, Morris, and Ye Fan would be surprised if they saw this. This was definitely a peak confrontation. After Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang's first collision, their figures did not retreat but instead advanced. One was more violent than the other, and the palm shadows and fist shadows filled the sky. Within a radius of thousands of miles, there was a continuous sound of explosions. Wherever the two of them passed, the surrounding mountains collapsed one after another, and it was a scene of devastation. This little power is not enough. Don't hide it. Today, I will beat you until your skin is split open and your flesh is torn apart, and your bud is blooming. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the 7 ancient sacred swords abruptly appeared on both sides of Chen Hao's body, above his head, and below his feet, forming the 7 stars sword formation. Thump. With a light shout, Chen Hao's fist turned into the 7 stars sword finger and pointed out in the air. Chi 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 chi. 7 or 8 ancient divine swords instantly tore through the void and maintained a fixed formation as they shot towards Hu Mainyang. What made Hu Mainyang slightly surprised was that Chen Hao's sword formation, which contained mysterious runes, was already terrifying enough. However, it actually contained several types of sword chi. Massacre sword chi as the tip: if gods block it, kill gods. If demons block it, slay demons. Immortal sword chi as the handle: immortal, indestructible, indestructible. Ethereal sword chi as the form, instantly changing thousands of times, leaving no trace. Destructive sword chi as the will: wherever the will reached, everything would collapse. Mountains and rivers sword chi as the foundation: beautiful mountains and rivers, only I am. Soft sword chi as the shield, airtight and invulnerable. Heartless sword chi as the heart, severing the heavens and earth, severing emotions only to kill. Seven sword daos, 7 treasured swords, connected by the 7 stars sword formation. Even though Chen Hao still hadn't completely merged them into one, and there were still various loopholes and flaws in the 7 swords and 7 daos, it was still one of the stronger ultimate moves in his 200 years of comprehension. What a madman! Hu Mainyang was shocked. Even with her peerless talent, she had never tried such an abnormal combination. How was it possible to merge 7 types of sword paths into one? Chapter 8:17. However, Chen Hao had managed to do it. Although it was far-fetched and bluntly superimposed together, he had indeed done it. Although Hu Mainyang did not know the secular sword principle, she knew that this was equivalent to integrating 7 emotions into the secular heart sutra at the same time. No matter what, she could not do it, nor was she willing to try it now. Even if she wanted to try it, she would have to cultivate the secular heart sutra to the highest level and reach the supreme realm of Hongmeng. It seems that you've gone crazy from wanting to ravage me. You forced me to do this. Buzz. As the word 10,000 left her mouth, the surging Tao law around Hu Mainyang instantly bloomed with an incomparably bright light, like the scorching sun in the sky. At the same time, she retreated rapidly, making Chen Hao's 7-star sword temporarily unable to touch her to buy herself some time. Tao. As the word Tao left her mouth, the Tao law around Hu Mainyang began to spin wildly. At this moment, the endless Tao law between heaven and earth seemed to materialize and converged on Hu Mainyang's body at an astonishing speed. The moment the word Tao ended, Hu Mainyang's figure had completely disappeared. Her entire body was like a scorching sun condensed from Tao law. An ordinary person would be blinded by a single glance. Kill. As the word kill left her mouth, the scorching sun suddenly exploded like spring thunder. Rumble. Rumble, the 10,000 Tao kill and the 7-star sword collided, shattering mountains and rivers and collapsing heaven and earth. Chen Hao spat out blood and flew backward. Hu Mainyang felt a sweetness in her throat and forcibly controlled her blood essence. But her qi and blood were churning and her meridians were cracking. Fuck! With 2 bangs, the 2 fell to the ground. Chen Hao spat out blood and cursed angrily, while Hu Mainyang snorted coldly. You're courting death. If I hadn't held back a bit of my strength, you would have been destroyed by now. Hu Mainyang could not help but say angrily. You think you're in the right to break my ultimate technique with absolute strength? You call that a battle to my heart's content? Damn it. Chen Hao felt his meridians cracking inch by inch and was so angry that his teeth itched. You used this kind of ultimate technique that only a madman would practice, and you're blaming me? You're biting off more than you can chew. You're simply pulling up seedlings to help them grow and forcefully defy the heavens. Don't be a frog in a well. Since I've done it, I naturally have the ability to control it. As Chen Hao spoke, he directly took out several spiritual herbs that emitted an astonishing aura and swallowed them. The vast and majestic chant of the primary outline of the great Tao rang out in his mind. Hu Mainyang frowned, not daring to fall behind. She also took out a saint-grade spirit herb to heal her injuries. She knew very well what this shameless guy Chen Hao wanted to do. She had a connate embryo of Tao, so her recovery speed was quite fast. However, she knew that Chen Hao's physical body was no weaker than her connate embryo of Tao. Once he recovered, Hu Mainyang was certain that he would strike first to gain the upper hand and take the opportunity to deal with her. Fortunately, she had used 90% of her strength to suppress Chen Hao, so her injuries were not as serious as Chen Hao's. More than 10 minutes later, Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang got up at almost the same time and started fighting again. But this time, Chen Hao did not use his ultimate technique directly. He truly relied on his strength and battle techniques to fight with Hu Meinyang. The battle went on wildly. Hu Meinyang's connate embryo of Dao and the powerful ability of myriad Dao resonance, coupled with the fact that she had suppressed her strength to fight with Chen Hao, made her recovery speed not slower than Chen Hao's. But even so, after fighting with Chen Hao for real, Hu Meinyang was still shocked by how monstrous Chen Hao was. She could feel that it was not difficult for her to defeat Chen Hao if she used her full strength, but it was impossible for her to kill him. Once Chen Hao broke through to Tian Fa, even defeating Chen Hao would be difficult. After a day and a night, Chen Hao's essence, qi, and spirits suddenly soared into the sky. Tian Fa had finally been activated. At this moment, Chen Hao's entire body was covered in injuries. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. The peerlessly beautiful Hu Meinyang wasn't much better off than Chen Hao. Her bright and clean jade-like face was also covered in blood. She looked like she was gnashing her teeth. Obviously, after a day and night of trembling and suppressing her strength, she did not have any advantage at all. The bloody footprints and palm prints on her but were the best proof. Are you coming or not? It's about to start. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Why won't I come? Although Hu Meinyang was gnashing her teeth in anger at Chen Hao's shameless fighting style and exquisite battle techniques, she had no choice but to come to Chen Hao's side at this time. Pa 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 pa. For palms connected, their minds connected. Chen Hao's small realm sky punishment came crashing down after the two entered the state of thoughtless tranquility. A terrifying tremor spread out, but it could not be compared to the great Tian Fa. Moreover, the place they were in was an endless barren land, far away from the Emperor Jade Essence area. There was no need to worry about being discovered. After the Tian Fa ended, the two were still immersed in the dual cultivation state. It was only 6 hours before the battle that Hu Meinyang let out a cold snort and ended the state. Chen Hao woke up and glared at Hu Meinyang with disdain. Both of them did not like each other, so of course, they were not convinced. However, they still stepped into Small Wisdom 1 and hurried back to the human camp. There's no time, otherwise there's plenty of time after the battle. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Come here. Chen Hao did not waste any more words. Well, it's a waste not to use it. 6 hours is still time. You're mine now, help me stabilize my realm. If you want it, say something nice to me. It's just an exchange. You still belong to me. The two in the flying device were at loggerheads, not giving in to each other. It was impossible for Chen Hao to take advantage of her. However, just as Hu Meinyang said, their souls were connected, and their minds were as one. They were indeed using each other and improving together. Therefore, although they said that, they still took a step forward and entered the state of cultivation in the flying device. It's time. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Under everyone's anticipation, the cultivators from the 5 galaxies flew up into the air and headed towards the central region of the Imperial Chalcedony once more, as their leader's voice traveled tens of thousands of kilometers. At the same time, the 5 major galaxies that had been eliminated did not leave just because they had lost. This was a battle between the top experts of the 10 major galaxies. It was a rare opportunity for any cultivator to learn. At the same time, they could understand each other better. After all, there were still hundreds of years in the primitive secret realm. Conflicts and battles in the future were inevitable. If they missed this opportunity to understand each other's true combat strength, it would be extremely difficult. In the human race, Hu Meinyang, who had been in a mess 2 hours ago, once again bloomed with a peerless demeanor that could cause chaos and bewilderment in the world. If other people saw Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao together, their eyeballs would probably fall to the ground. Chen Hao, Chen Shui, Pan Long, Xia Yuyu, the sisters, Du Jing, Bailey Ningbing, and Gao Lan followed closely behind Hu Meinyang, forming the lineup for today's battle. After stepping into the late stage of the Heaven Immortal realm, Although his realm had not been stabilized, his combat strength had increased tremendously. As for how much it had increased, even Hu Mainyang, who was dual cultivating with Chen Hao, could not be sure. However, Hu Mainyang was sure that even if he faced the top experts of the 3 strongest galaxies, Chen Hao would not be weak. Whether they could win would depend on how many hidden trump cards they had and how strong they were. However, at this moment, Chen Hao's aura was no different from before the battle. His disguised appearance was still the same as before. Pan Long and the others were the same. What are you looking at? During the flight, Chen Hao, who was staring at Hu Mainyang's back, suddenly heard Qin Shue's voice. Nothing. Big brother, I was thinking about today's situation and got distracted. What's wrong, little Shue? Chen Hao hurriedly transmitted his voice. He felt embarrassed, and the imperceptible golden light in his eyes disappeared. Didn't you say you couldn't wait to kill her? That's right, little Shue. Big brother was trampling on her with his gaze just now. So you're saying that she accompanied you to spar, but you were trampled on instead, and now you're trying to find balance? That's not true. Although I didn't get the upper hand, it was a tie. How could Big brother lose out? You don't say what you think. Qin Shui rolled her eyes at Chen Hao and stopped talking. On the other hand, Chen Hao blushed with shame. Qin Shui's words had hit the nail on the head. Hu Mainyang, who had taken the lead and left her back to the others, also had a trace of anger in her eyes at this moment. Although she didn't turn her head, she could sense every movement of Chen Hao and the others. Even their gazes were no exception. Just now, when Chen Hao was staring at her back, she felt extremely strange, as if she had been completely seen through. Wherever Chen Hao's gaze went, that feeling was the most obvious. Even her curvaceous buttocks felt itchy. This was because Chen Hao's gaze was fixed on her buttocks for the most time. He's a hooligan in his bones. Hu Mainyang secretly said in her heart. Soon after, the corners of her mouth curled into a smug arc. For the time being, Chen Hao could only mentally trample on Hu Mainyang. He didn't expect that just because he despised Hu Mainyang's hypocritical, noble, elegant, and aloof aloofness, he couldn't help but use his fiery eyes of truth to blatantly despise the other party. This actually caused the person involved, Hu Mainyang, and the bystander, Qin Shui, to sense it. If he had known that the 2 women's senses were so sharp, Chen Hao wouldn't have done this no matter what. The fiery eyes of truth was one of his top secrets. Although it didn't contain any energy and couldn't sense any mysteries, it could allow people with sharp senses and strong intuition to sense abnormalities. That shining white but seems to be really not bad. Motherfucker, this unruly and difficult to tame rouge horse has actually unknowingly aroused my desire? Chen Hao was suddenly shocked. Today's participants, please come forward. 10 sides gathered, 4 sides took the stage, and 6 sides watched the show. Today, when he was about to face the Protoss, Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants still had a faint smile on his face. He was confident and aloof, as if he didn't care about the upcoming battle at all. This was the confidence brought about by his powerful strength. Chapter 8:18. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following Chu Feiyang's words, the contestants from the Tyrants, the Protoss, the humans, and the elves immediately rose into the air and arrived at their respective camps around Broken Peak. Hiss hiss hiss. Immediately, divine senses spread out unscrupulously to sense the opponent's aura. The 6 who won against the Heavenly Devil clan are all here. There are 4 new cultivators with average auras. As expected, as long as we perform as usual, we can win this match. The elven race cultivators secretly communicated after sensing the situation of the 10 humans. Their fighting spirit was high. With the experience of the first match, the elves, who were ranked 5th in the speed competition, directly sent a cultivator who had already been chosen to step onto Broken Peak. With the lesson learned from the Sky Demon race, the elves had sent out a cultivator ranked 10th. It would be great if he could win, but it would not matter if he lost. The 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th were all chosen by the elves to take the initiative to let the other party arrange their opponents when they took the field first. They were confident that their overall strength was higher than that of the human race. By taking the initiative to use these weaklings as bait, The human race would send out the strong to fight the weak against the strong. If they sent out the weak, they might lose directly. If they stayed, they would also fight the strong against the strong. No matter how they looked at it, they would not be at a disadvantage. Of course, they would not be able to benefit from it. In this way, they would not fall into a passive situation like the Heavenly Devil clan. Gao Lan, you go. Hu Mainyang directly called out Gao Lan. Among the 10 humans, Gao Lan should be at least the top 6 in the eyes of the elves. Hu Mainyang wanted him to fight the weakest of the elves. Naturally, she wanted to win this match. Only Gao Lan himself and the other contestants of the human race knew that in Hu Mainyang's eyes, he should be the weakest. Although Gao Lan was a little dissatisfied, he would definitely not go against Hu Mainyang. This match, no matter what, I must win. I, Gao Lan, want to prove that I am not worse than them. Boom. Gao Lan turned Hu Mainyang's contempt into a strong motivation. His fighting spirit rose wildly and he began the battle. Between the two of them, Gao Lan was already a little stronger than his opponent. In addition to his strong fighting spirit to prove himself in front of Hu Mainyang, Gao Lan broke out beyond his limit. In a short 5 minutes, the battle ended. Although he did not kill his opponent, there was no suspense. The human race won the first round. In the second round, it was the human race's turn to go up first. Hu Mainyang immediately sent the fierce Coiling Dragon up. Coiling Dragon's ferocity was far greater than his own strength. He was definitely a headache to deal with. Hu Mainyang's decision to send her out was within expectations. This guy is mine. The elves had already made arrangements to deal with the 5 human victors apart from Hu Mainyang. With Coiling Dragon's appearance, the elves naturally seized the opportunity to step onto the stage. The second strongest? Hu Mainyang and Qin Hao frowned as soon as the second strongest warrior of the elf clan appeared. Ha! You really think highly of me? Coiling Dragon laughed excitedly when he saw the other party. Do you admit defeat, or do you want to die? The second most powerful warrior of the elf clan flapped his wings and stared at the Coiling Dragon in the sky. The rainbow-colored translucent wings flapped lightly, creating mysterious halos of light that exuded an astonishing pressure. But it's you! Boom! Coiling Dragon took a step forward, waved his fists, and rushed forward fiercely. He was very excited. Being able to show his strength in advance was naturally something he could not wish for more. He had been holding back for a long time. It doesn't matter. Even if he reveals a little, he'll only be in the bottom 5 in the 3 major galaxies, Chen Hao said to Hu Mainyang telepathically. The second most powerful warrior of the elf clan would only be 6th or 7th in the Tyrants, Protoss, and Zerg clans. He would be eye-catching, but not too eye-catching. Arrogant. With a flap of his wings, the second most powerful warrior of the elf clan directly raised his strength and speed to the peak. He wanted to use his absolute strength to kill the fierce Coiling Dragon. However, what? Is this guy crazy? What made countless people widen their eyes was that the second most powerful warrior of the elf clan did not gain any advantage in this exchange of blows. Coiling Dragon, who was also retreating, rushed forward fiercely the moment he regained his footing. He continued to attack with his fists, full of vigor, without holding back. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the second most powerful warrior of the elf clan did not have time to be surprised. The two of them were locked in a situation where they exchanged blows. It was cruel, bloody, and without any gorgeous unique skills, there was only the collision of pure strength. 2 minutes later, the second most powerful warrior of the elf clan's shrill scream of horror came to an abrupt end, indicating the result of the match. What a fierce guy! He's completely fighting with his life. When 2 enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. The second most powerful warrior of the elf clan is obviously frightened by this guy. Not to mention exceeding his standard, he didn't even display his basic combat strength, right? Indeed. However, this human guy definitely hid his strength last time. Otherwise, it would be impossible for his combat strength to increase so much in just 3 days. Countless cultivators looked at Coiling Dragon, who was covered in blood but still standing proudly, and discussed in a buzzing voice. Interesting. The human race is scheming something big. Maurice, who was unparalleled in the Zerg clan and had put away his 8 snakeheads, stared at Coiling Dragon, then at Humaneong and the others. He smiled and licked his delicate red lips with his fragrant tongue, full of evil charm and bloodthirst. Did you see that? No one knew that Lu Qinya, who had been pushed to the 4th most powerful warrior of the Protoss clan, had a cold, arrogant, and confident voice that sounded in the ears of the 1st to 3rd most powerful warriors of the Protoss clan. They've been here for a long time, is that so? Then who do you think this person is? It must be Coiling Dragon. Although I don't know what method he used to hide the aura of almost all the ancient beasts, I'm sure it's him. I believe that you can also sense the remnant aura of the ancient beasts on his body. Also, his eyes inadvertently revealed a wild look. I can't be wrong. Lu Qinya transmitted his voice with great certainty. Hearing Lu Qinya's words, the 3 most powerful warriors of the Protoss clan pondered for a moment. Before the start of the elimination round, Lu Qinya had said that God of Slaughter Chen Hao and the members of Proud Heaven would definitely appear. Now, although there were no clues, all the signs were completely within Lu Qinya's expectations. Lu Qinya was so sure because no one knew better than him about God of Slaughter Chen Hao and the members of Proud Heaven. When the Imperial Jade Marrow vein was first discovered, it was because of Proud Heaven's member, Lan Feng. All these years he had been hunting down Proud Heaven's members. Although he didn't succeed, he knew a lot about them. We actually lost. The elves didn't feel anything when they lost the first round, but the second round, which they had expected to win, was lost. This caused the elves to lose their composure. It's just an accident. It's just one round, we can't lose our composure. You go. The leader of the elves, Siege, took a deep breath and followed the original plan. The 9th-ranked warrior was the first to ascend Broken Peak. Ning Bing, you go. Humaneong said straightforwardly. Then she transmitted her voice, if you can win, win. If you can't, don't force it. Just admit defeat. Masu. Forget it. Bailey Ning Bing wanted to ask something, but in the end, she held back and didn't speak. Previously, there were 4 new people with powerful auras, and there were 3 women among them. Bailey Ning Bing's doubts about the matter became uncertain once more. And just now, Coiling Dragon showed that he was stronger than last time, which made her even more uncertain. So what if it was real, so what if it was fake? It was fine if it was fake, but if it was real, it was clearly by her side, but they were like strangers. What did it have to do with her? No one could understand this feeling. I will win. Bailey Ning Bing stared at Humaneong and flew into the air. To a certain extent, Humaneong was similar to her, but what Humaneong did was 100 times better than what she did in the past. If I didn't rely on your strength, I could reach where I am today. I could do it in the past and I can do it in the future. Even if we don't interact for the rest of our lives, I won't let you look down on me. The road is still very, very long. The immortal sword glow blossomed. Her slender figure, beautiful face, and determined eyes caused Bailey Ning Bing's temperament and aura to undergo a shocking change. Her heart changed and her state of mind transformed. Like a Buddhist, she naturally entered a subtle state. At this moment, countless cultivators, including the top experts of the 3 galaxies, were slightly surprised. They revealed envious expressions as they stared at the beautiful figure descending from the void. Enlightenment. Bailey Ning Bing actually gained enlightenment at this time? Amazing, as expected of the woman who has an affair with killing God Chen Hao. Her luck is amazing, but it's not the right time. So beautiful, killing God Chen Hao's women are all peerless beauties, and each is stronger than the last. Even Miss Hu's relationship with him is unclear. Really makes people jealous. What nonsense are you talking about? Killing God Chen Hao is just a coward. How can he be worthy of Miss Hu? Cough cough. I'm just saying, what's there to be excited about? Brainless fan. While a few human experts were discussing in low voices, a youth who had disguised his aura glared at them and cursed in his heart. Just randomly pull out 2 sisters-in-law and they're not inferior to Humaneong. My boss isn't worthy of her? Damn it. She only knows how to show off and confuse people. She's just a little stronger, barely qualified to be my boss's concubine. Enlightenment? Go to hell. Boom. When the ninth elf expert saw Bailey Ningbing's appearance, he knew that he only had a 40% chance of winning this battle. But now that Bailey Ningbing had entered enlightenment, why would he wait? Even though he knew that this was a grave offense, this was the battle stage, and it concerned the honor of the elf race. How could he not seize this opportunity? Stop! The people who were still envious of Bailey Ningbing suddenly heard two shouts. One was the leader of the human race, Hu Mainyang, and the other was one of the top 10 experts of the human race. Chapter 8:19. Stop? Do you think I'll stop just because you tell me to? A sharp glint flashed in the eyes of the ninth strongest elf. Not only did he not slow down, but he also gathered more energy around him and sped up. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he grasped it, he would incur the wrath of the humans and even the disdain of the alien races from other galaxies. However, for the sake of the elf race's victory, he did not feel the slightest bit of guilt. Epiphany was a state that cultivators could only come across by chance. The more profound and powerful one's cultivation was, the rarer it was to have an epiphany. It could be said that there were very few people who could still have an epiphany after reaching the heavenly immortal realm. Even top figures like Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang had not encountered one in the heavenly immortal realm for hundreds of years. Of course, the higher the cultivation level of the cultivator, the greater the benefits of an epiphany. In the cultivation world, there was an unwritten rule that no one could interrupt a cultivator's epiphany. But now it was on the dual stage. In addition, he carried the hat of righteousness of the elf race. Although the actions of the elf cultivator would be despised, they could not do anything to him. What a pity! The alien cultivator felt sorry for Bailey Ningbing. Shameless. Despicable. What bullshit peace-loving and nature-loving elf race. You're just shameless people. The human cultivator was filled with righteous indignation. Even Hu Mainyang could only speak out to stop him. She could not do anything. Buzz. No one knew that a pure soul power had imperceptibly penetrated the seal and directly entered between Bailey Ningbing's eyebrows. Undistracted, unmoved by honor or disgrace. Freeze. 8 notes that sounded like the sound of the great Tao directly entered Bailey Ningbing's soul. The word fix caused Bailey Ningbing, who had just been enlightened, to return to her tranquility. Abandon the physical body and let me control it. Immediately after, the familiar voice that had appeared in her dreams countless times in the middle of the night once again spoke in the depths of her soul like the voice of the great Tao. It's over. When the human cultivators saw that the elven expert's terrifying divine ability was about to hit Bailey Ningbing, who was completely immersed in enlightenment, they all felt pity. Even Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yu, Long Ting, and the other girls who didn't have any good impression of Bailey Ningbing were no exception. Love and hate, very much love. This woman who had interacted with Chen Hao countless times was clearly about to die, but they didn't feel happy at all. On the contrary, they felt sad and even faintly worried, because just now, other than Hu Mainyang, the one who spoke up to stop the elf clan was Chen Hao in disguise. However, to everyone's surprise, Bailey Ningbing actually turned into a ray of light at that critical moment and flew out of the restriction, heading towards the distant void. Epiphany is something that no one can predict. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You should reason with them. Let Du Jing go. Du Jing, you're up. Kill without mercy. Aside from poison, it doesn't matter if you use all your strength. Almost at the same time, Chen Hao's voice sounded in Hu Mainyang and Du Jing's ears. Hu Mainyang looked at Bailey Ningbing, who was still immersed in enlightenment, and her eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Du Jing, on the other hand, was slightly taken aback. Immediately, his expression became frighteningly gloomy. He was originally very shrewd and had always been known to be ruthless. In Outyan, he was harmless to humans and animals. Even like Lan Feng, he was bullied by Coiling Dragon. However, that was because Coiling Dragon was his brother. If he really treated him as a harmless citizen, he wouldn't even know how he died. Moreover, after 200 years, he said the same thing when Chen Hao asked him how he was. Even if Coiling Dragon wanted to bully him, he would also be defeated. Boss is angry. As expected of an exclusive property. The rumors are true. Since that's the case, only death awaits. Boundless killing intent filled Du Jing's heart, but his aura didn't change at all. When it came to disguising, Du Jing was much better than Coiling Dragon. The angrier he was, the calmer he was. It was a long story, but it all happened in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Hu Mainyang suddenly soared into the sky, and an extremely terrifying pressure burst out from her body. Endless Tao laws rolled and covered a radius of 10,000 miles. She looked down at the elf tribe cultivators on the broken peak and snorted coldly. You knew Bailey Ning Bing had entered the state of enlightenment, yet you still attacked. Do you think I don't exist? Even if you're lucky enough to escape today, you'll definitely die in the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Du Jing looked at Hu Mainyang's figure that was as dazzling as the scorching sun in the sky. Her figure was insufferably arrogant, and when he heard such arrogant words, he was stunned. Hu Mainyang, the saintess of the Misty Rain Pavilion, was a connate Taoist fetus who had been doted on by everyone. She had always been graceful and elegant. Except for when she got angry when she fought with boss Chen Hao for the Tao manifestation immortal fruit, she had never lost her composure. Anyone who came into contact with her knew that her cultivation was unparalleled in the world, but most of them thought of her as a charming and seductive goddess. But now, the goddess was angry. The whole world was silent. No one thought that Hu Mainyang would suddenly fly into a rage and say such strong words. The voice of a powerhouse could intimidate heaven and earth. Even the leader of the elf clan, Shi Age, did not dare to let out a fart at this moment. The elf clan loves peace, advocates nature, and stands aloof from worldly affairs. That's not entirely true. Miss Hu, you don't have to be angry. This incident happened by accident. No one could have predicted it, so it doesn't count. You can choose another person to fight. At this moment, the number 1 powerhouse of the tyrants, Chu Feiyang, also rose slowly into the air and said fair words that made Hu Mainyang and the other human cultivators feel very comfortable. The elf clan was depressed, but they could not refute it. If they had succeeded in killing her, then so be it. Since they had failed, they would be asking for trouble if they argued now. After all, in any situation, not to mention killing, even interrupting a cultivator's enlightenment was despicable. No matter where they went, it was not justifiable. You've disgraced the elf clan. The leader of the elf clan, Shi Age, glared angrily at the 9th powerhouse who was completely overwhelmed by Hu Mainyang's aura and reprimanded him. Shi Age was indeed angry. If you wanted to do it, then do it. You did it but did not complete it. You caused trouble for nothing and provoked the anger of a powerful woman like Hu Mainyang. The 9th powerhouse of the elf clan suddenly woke up from his daze. His expression became extremely ugly. Looking at the eyes of Shi Age and the other powerhouses of the elf clan looking at him, his heart was filled with despair and anger. He had risked universal condemnation for the honor of the elf clan. It was fine if the human and foreign cultivators despised him, but if the elf clan also treated him like this, he could not accept it no matter what. This was no less than being betrayed by everyone. Miss Hu, let me do it. Boom. Du Jing did not wait for Hu Mainyang's order. After hearing the words of Chu Feiyang from the tyrants, he suddenly rose into the air and volunteered. Although he released some of his aura, it was still suppressed to just the right range. Du Jing was very clear that if he exposed too much of his strength at this moment, this scum of the elf clan might directly admit defeat. Then, there would be nothing he could do. Hu Mainyang glanced at Du Jing and frowned slightly. She only hesitated for a moment and waved her hand. Du Jing immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed to the top of Broken Peak. Die. Even if I die, I will win this battle. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After seeing Du Jing enter the arena, even though Du Jing had concealed his aura, he knew that the human race was furious and would never send a weakling to fight him. They were just afraid that he would admit defeat. However, he also knew that he had no way out. Whether it was for the honor of the elf clan or to obtain a larger proportion of the Emperor Jade essence, a failure was a failure. The winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. If he could salvage this battle, there was still a place for him in the elf clan. Otherwise, he would rather die a heroic death. Anger, despair, hatred, all kinds of emotions made him disregard life and death. He completely threw away everything, and endless fighting spirit rose around him. The rainbow wings vibrated with a buzz, and he charged towards Du Jing with his spear. It's just a last-ditch struggle. Du Jing's eyes shone with excitement, and he waved his sword to meet the attack. In the past, his edges had been worn down by Chen Hao, his perverted boss, Coiling Dragon, and the others. However, the viciousness in his bones had never disappeared. At this moment, with Chen Hao's verbal order, Du Jing let out his viciousness without any scruples. He was like an unsheathed sword, showing its sharpness. One move. He only wanted one move, not giving his opponent any chance to admit defeat. Essence, Qi, Spirit, True Yuan, Divine Sense, and the strongest divine sense that he had learned in his life except for poison were all gathered together. The sword light shone brightly, tearing the sky apart. The horrifying fluctuation, accompanied by a terrifying explosion, directly drowned the entire broken peak. No way! This is the second powerhouse of the human clan. Countless exclamations erupted from the surrounding cultivators. Most of the cultivators had already guessed that this human cultivator must be a hidden powerhouse. Otherwise, Hu Mainyang, who was furious and clearly stated that she wanted to kill the 9th powerhouse of the elf clan, would definitely not let him go on the stage. However, Du Jing's crazy ruthlessness that drained all his strength in one move, and the terrifying aura that burst out, still shocked everyone. Damn it! Why isn't it me? Coiling Dragon saw Du Jing's appearance, and he was envious and jealous. Obviously, Du Jing had received Chen Hao's permission. Otherwise, with Du Jing's nature, it was impossible for him to be so bold. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying explosion sounded, and it lasted for half a minute. Du Jing's face was pale, but his eyes were shining with ruthlessness and excitement. He did not even look at the flesh that was destroyed by his own energy, and directly used the remaining energy to fly back to the human clan's camp. Damn it, you really think you're the second powerhouse? Coiling Dragon stared at Du Jing's arrogant appearance and transmitted his voice unhappily. Ahem, Brother Pan, at least now I am. If you don't have the demeanor of a powerhouse, wouldn't you be embarrassing the boss? In the end, it will all be revealed. You're right, but I'm very unhappy. What do you think I should do? Chapter 8:20. Brother Pan, you already killed the second most powerful warrior of the elf race, and I'm just getting some leftovers. Oh, right, my saint-level soul-devouring silkworm has given birth to a silkworm king. It's the one that mutated after drinking some of your blood. It's very ferocious, and it only broke through after devouring thousands of my soul-devouring silkworms. Fuck! Pan Long cursed but didn't say anything else. Even if he could trample on Du Jing thousands of times, he would still vomit blood because of Du Jing's poisonous worms. Now that a silkworm king was born, how bad would it be? He wouldn't be able to take any advantage at all. Did you see that? That person should be Du Jing. Killing God Chen Hao doesn't have any weaklings under his command. If he uses poison, he will be even stronger. No one knew that Lu Qianye of the God race had already exposed Du Jing's identity to the top 3 elites of the God race at this moment. The one who spoke up to stop that idiot from the elf race must be killing God Chen Hao. Impossible, right? Nothing is impossible. Killing God Chen Hao's concealment technique might not be the best in the same realm, but no one in the primitive mystic realm can compare to him. If he doesn't want anyone to know who he is, no one would be able to tell from his aura. If not for Pan Long, Du Jing, and the others, even I wouldn't be able to guess it was him. Moreover, you should already know about his relationship with Bailey Ningbing. If it wasn't him and Hu Mainyang who spoke up to stop her, who else could it be? Very good. To Lu Qianye's surprise, the #1 elite of the God race, Nye Fan, wasn't worried at all. Instead, his eyes shone with excitement. Killing God Chen Hao. Let me Nye Fan break his legend. Chi chi chi. In the distance, behind the human camp, the energy of heaven and earth fluctuated violently and gathered towards a graceful figure standing in the void. Bailey Ning Bing had unexpectedly entered the state of enlightenment, which was something that could only be discovered by chance. The surrounding human cultivators were extremely envious and excited. One thing was for sure, after the enlightenment, Bailey Ning Bing's combat strength would definitely increase tremendously. This was undoubtedly a good thing for the human race. Of course, the surrounding cultivators weren't just shocked. Instead, they used their fastest speed to adjust their states and assimilate into Bailey Ning Bing's aura of enlightenment, hoping to gain something. No one knew that a strand of Qin Hao's soul consciousness was currently in Bailey Ning Bing's mind. However, even though Epiphany was good, it did not mean much to top experts who already had their own path. Epiphany was the transformation of one's mental state on the path of enlightenment. This was a Tao that belonged solely to Bailey Ning Bing, and only she would benefit the most from it. Cultivators who had yet to find their own Tao would also gain quite a bit. Perhaps some of them would be enlightened and gain some insights, which would help them comprehend the Tao in the future. However, Chen Hao and the others were useless. The competition didn't delay because of Bailey Ning Bing. The human race was still in the lead with a 3 score, and their momentum was unstoppable. With Hu Mainyang's victory, the human race only needed to win one more match to remain undefeated. Plans can't keep up with changes. Since it's come to this, let's have little snow fight. We'll just beat our opponents. Yu, Huan, Lei, and Bailey Ning Bing won't have to fight. Chen Hao transmitted to Hu Mainyang. Bailey Ning Bing, eating from the bowl and hogging the pot. When she's about to die, won't she be exposed? Nonsense, do you think I'll just watch her die? I didn't say I'd let her die. Why are you so agitated? If I didn't cooperate with you, do you really think your soul consciousness could pass through the restrictions the 10 of us set up without being detected? Also, keep an eye on the gods. They seem to have discovered something. So what if they've discovered something? This time, the gods are the ones I want to stomp to death. If it wasn't for Lu Qinya, the entire Emperor Jade Marrow district would be ours. All these years, I've been in seclusion, and the gods have been hunting down the members of Proud Heaven. They must be tired of living. Chen Hao frowned slightly after hearing Hu Mainyang's words. Don't be too confident. Nye Fan and Lu Qinya are easy to deal with. The two ranked before Lu Qinya are naturally not to be trifled with. Among the 4 of them, you can at most kill one. I'll reluctantly help you kill one. As for the other 2, I'm afraid no one in Proud Heaven can defeat them. Is that so? Then open your eyes wide and watch. Even if you don't do anything, Proud Heaven, will still destroy them. In the 4th match, it was time for the human race to fight first. Chen Shui directly went up. When they saw, by Tian, the elves' morale had dropped to the bottom. By now, they knew that the human race had hidden too deeply. Siege, who was supposed to adjust his strategy, was not in the mood to do so. Kana, who was supposed to deal with, by Tian, went up the stage. Even though he had given it his all, he was still defeated by Chen Shui's soaring strength. He no longer had the courage to risk his life and the confidence to win. Naturally, he decisively admitted defeat at the critical moment. For a clock. Hu Mainyang had not entered the stage yet, but the human race was already in an invincible position. In the 5th match, Chen Hao took the initiative to enter the stage. Let me. Siege, the leader of the elves, had no choice but to enter the stage. Even if they were going to lose, they could not let the human race win completely. It would be too embarrassing if they were to be shaved bald. Buzz! Siege's rainbow wings flapped, and his entire body seemed to have teleported directly to Broken Peak. The human race has really hidden deeply. However, it's impossible for them to win completely against us elves. Perhaps you've hidden your strength as well? Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you enter the stage at this time. Unfortunately, I'm going up. Siege stared at Chen Hao condescendingly. Although the elves were destined to lose the match, Siege's image as the #1 expert of the elves was still sufficient. The aura on Chen Hao's body suddenly soared. You're not going to admit defeat? You want to fight? Siege asked in surprise. In his opinion, as long as it was not Humaneong, he would be able to stop the other party's wishful thinking of winning completely. No matter who it was, when they saw him enter the stage, they would probably admit defeat immediately. Similarly, countless cultivators present had the same thoughts as Siege. Siege's strength as the number one expert of the elves was unquestionable. He was second only to Humaneong, Chu Feiyang, Marichis, Nye Fan, and other top experts. Other than Humaneong, no one in the human race thought that anyone could fight against him. However, Chen Hao began to gather his aura. Damn it, the ignorant are really fearless. But this feeling of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger feels really good. Although I'm about to vomit blood, when it's time to explode, just thinking about it makes me excited. I seem to like this feeling. However, isn't it a little too early for Senior to reveal his powerful strength now? Coiling Dragons secretly whispered to Du Jing through voice transmission. It's not early. Boss can't reveal much even if he wants to. Besides, our opponents in the next match are basically those trash from the Protoss. So what if we're all exposed? Otherwise, Boss wouldn't have allowed me to unleash my poison skills without restraint. That makes sense. Brother Pan, I've understood this since I was 3 years old. You're all grown up now? Are you serious? As soon as Siege's voice fell, Chen Hao's aura, which was already surging violently, suddenly increased to a level that was not inferior to Siege's at all. This made Siege, who had maintained a high and mighty posture, suddenly change his expression and shut his mouth immediately. Countless cultivators in the surroundings exclaimed in surprise. He's so strong. Even the top experts from the Tyrants, the Insect race, and the Protoss, who had maintained a detached posture from the beginning, could not remain calm except for Lu Qinya, Nye Fan, and the other top experts. The human race is indeed the most cunning race in the top 10 galaxies. They've hidden their strength so well. We have to re-evaluate the combat power of the human race. Even we have to take it seriously. The contestants from the top 3 galaxies all revealed solemn expressions. Miss Hu, you're amazing. This is a little more interesting. Otherwise, it would be a pity for you to fight alone, huh? At this time, Chu Feiyang from the Tyrants looked at Humaneong with a smile and said, Brother Chu, you must be joking. Although the human race has hidden some of our strength, there's still a big gap between us and the top 3 galaxies. Humaneong doesn't dare to think too much. Humaneong also smiled, but her eyes were locked on Broken Peak with a trace of nervousness. Of course, this nervousness was for others to see. It could be said that the one who knew Chen Hao's combat power the best now was Humaneong. Although Shi Age, the top expert of the elf race, was second only to her and several top experts from the top 3 galaxies, he was not enough to deal with Chen Hao. Sure enough, after raising his strength to the same level as Siege's, Chen Hao was still able to suppress Siege with a slight advantage. This made Siege's blood boil with shame and anger. As the number 1 expert of the elven race, who had previously boasted shamelessly, he was now being suppressed by Chen Hao, an unknown expert. His reputation had been swept to the ground. His shame turned into anger, and in order to defend his dignity as the number 1 expert, Siege went berserk and fought Chen Hao with all his might. In such a situation, it would have been difficult for Chen Hao to kill Shi Age. Even if Chen Hao exposed his full strength, as long as Shi Age wisely admitted defeat, it would have been difficult for him to kill Shi Age. However, Chen Hao easily killed the number 1 expert of the elf tribe at the cost of heavy injuries. This was completely unexpected. At the same time, it also caused a huge sensation. The leader of the top 10 galaxies was the first to die. It directly caused the elf race to fall into an endless depression. They were not much better off compared to the eliminated galaxy of the Sky Fiend race. We can't complain about losing, huh? The humans have hidden their strength so well, and the elf race is far inferior to us. We've lost completely, huh? The cultivators of the Sky Fiend race were excited. They had a score of 4-6 against the humans, but the powerful elf race was completely defeated. This undoubtedly gave them a place to find balance. There's no need to go up. We, the elf race, admit defeat. The cultivator with the highest cultivation among the elf race immediately admitted defeat with an embarrassed expression. With Hu Mainyang going up, who would dare to fight her? They did not even dare to go up the stage. Otherwise, it was hard to say if they would even have the chance to admit defeat. The secular Heart Sutra gave you a casual look, and you would lose your mind. You would be dead meat. It's finally our turn. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants murmured with excitement in his eyes. Are the Tyrants really the strongest? We, the God race, will defeat you first. Nya Fan, the top expert of the God race, took a deep breath and said. Chapter 821. Suddenly, the number 1 expert of the insect race, Marichis, let out a breathtaking laugh and flew into the air. Chu Feiyang, Nya Fan, Hu Mainyang, and the others frowned slightly. They did not understand what this coquettish woman was up to. The insect race had gotten a bye and gained such a huge advantage. Was she still not satisfied? After all, the Tyrants and the Protoss were the first to fight. Casualties were inevitable. If the real experts died, the insect race would naturally take advantage of them. I have a suggestion that you can consider. Marichis, why, do you want to fight first? The Tyrants don't mind letting you go first. The Protoss naturally doesn't mind. Do I, Marichis, look that stupid? I knew you would think that the insect race would get a bye. Sure enough. If I want to win, I must make you accept it wholeheartedly. I don't care about that little bit of advantage. My suggestion is very simple. The elf race has indicated that they will stop at the 5th place. The human race has hidden their strength very well. Their strength is not much worse than our 3 galaxies. Also, Hu Mainyang, you have hidden your strength, right? Perhaps killing God Shen Hao and the members of Ao Tian have already arrived? Marichis suddenly looked at Hu Mainyang with a devilish smile on her seductive oval face. Whoosh, what? Killing God Shen Hao and the members of Ao Tian have arrived? I see, no wonder the human race has so many hidden experts. Which one is killing God Shen Hao? Marichis' words directly ignited all the cultivators. In an instant, there was an uproar. Countless eyes looked at the 10 experts of the human race and the cultivators standing in front of the human race camp. They wanted to find killing God Shen Hao and the members of Ao Tian. Hu Mainyang did not expect to be called by Marichis at this time. However, her expression did not change at all. She still had a faint smile on her face and said, killing God Shen Hao and the members of Ao Tian may have really come. As she spoke, Hu Mainyang's gaze swept across Chen Hao and the others. She said, unfortunately, even Mainyang doesn't know if it's true. Do you think they are? Then let's take it that they are. What does that mean? Hu Mainyang's ambiguous words made everyone unable to understand what she was up to. However, Chen Hao frowned slightly, but soon felt relieved. No matter what, Hu Mainyang would never allow herself to fall into a passive position, nor would she allow her reputation to be tarnished. Since she had been questioned by Maurice in front of everyone, regardless of whether the other party was probing or had already discovered some clues, Hu Mainyang's answer was undoubtedly the best for herself. Chen Hao and Proud Heaven's members weren't harmed in any way. Instead, they were beating around the bush in an ambiguous manner, neither admitting nor denying it, which made it difficult for the other party to confirm their suspicions. Furthermore, if Chen Hao and all the other members of Proud Heaven were exposed, Hu Mainyang would be able to cut ties with them. At the very least, she wouldn't have to hide anything from anyone. Murderous God Chen Hao's concealment skills are unparalleled under the heavens. I'm sure Proud Heaven's members won't be too bad, right? Whether you admit it or not, I can conclude that murderous God Chen Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven have already participated in the battle, and they are among these people. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many hidden experts in the human race. Murderous God Shen Hao, what do you think? I'm looking forward to a battle with you the most. If you can defeat me, I can give you my primordial Yin body, and we can practice dual cultivation together for a few hundred years. In exchange, if I defeat you, you have to become my man and join the Bug Clan. I know you can definitely hear me. Therefore, I suggest that we end the battle here today. 3 days later, the tyrants will fight the Protoss, and the Bug Clan will fight the humans. Isn't this fair? At least the Bug Clan didn't take advantage of you. Maurice from the Bug Clan didn't feel that his words were inappropriate at all. However, in the ears of the human race and the cultivators from other races, it was simply too awesome. As the #1 expert of the Bug Clan, he actually wanted to dual cultivate with murderous god Chen Hao in front of all the cultivators from the 10 major galaxies in the primitive mystic realm, regardless of the outcome. How shameless must he be to do that? Even Chen Hao was shocked by this demonic and manly woman's straightforwardness. On the other hand, Qin Shui and the other girls were disgusted. They looked at Maurice as if they couldn't wait to kill him with their swords. Even Hu Mainyang frowned slightly. She was a little unhappy. Was it because murderous god Chen Hao was too charming, or was Maurice too shameless? The answer was naturally twofold. There was no clear boundary. Maurice's words clearly told everyone that murderous god Chen Hao's talent was unprecedented. If one could dual cultivate with him, the benefits would definitely be huge. This was where Chen Hao's charm lay. Perhaps only the Bug Clan, a race that completely regarded dual cultivation as a path of cultivation and had no moral constraints at all, would dare to say such shameless words in public like Maurice did. I'm impressed. I thought only the Protoss could see it. I didn't expect Queen Maurice to be as good as us. What was even more unexpected was that Lu Qianye, the former leader of the Protoss and the current #4 expert, actually laughed loudly. He rose into the air and praised Maurice. You were Qin Shui during the day, right? And you, although I don't know what method you used to conceal the aura of an ancient ferocious beast, you're Coiling Dragon, right? And you're Du Jing, the merciless tyrant, right? And all of you, you're one of murderous god Chen Hao's Taoist companions, right? As for murderous god Chen Hao, do you dare say you're not? Lu Qianye pointed and pointed. Every time he reached a person, he would confidently point out the other party's name. Every time he pointed out someone's name, the crowd would go into an uproar. Especially when he pointed out the young man who had just killed the leader of the elf clan, it caused a huge commotion. Murderous god Chen Hao. The human cultivators all felt their blood boiling. They suppressed the excitement in their hearts and stared at Chen Hao and the others. In the crowd, Niu Er, who had met Chen Hao once, was so excited that he trembled. It should be known that Chen Hao had told him that his surname was Chen. Therefore, although Chen Hao and the others still did not admit it, Niu Er was very sure. Other than murderous god Chen Hao, who else had the ability to kill the #1 expert of the elf clan? Hu Mainyang's expression also seemed to be very surprised as she looked at Chen Hao with a hint of anger. In the primitive mystic realm, everyone knew that Hu Mainyang and murderous god Chen Hao had fought to the death for the Tao manifestation immortal fruit. Even when they were breaking through the 9 restrictions of immortal sealing, Hu Mainyang wanted to take advantage of Chen Hao's heavenly punishment to kill him. To put it bluntly, the relationship between Hu Mainyang and Chen Hao was like fire and water in everyone's eyes, even in the eyes of the human race. However, no one was worried that Hu Mainyang would come into conflict with Chen Hao now. After all, when the human race had called for murderous god Chen Hao and the members of Proud Heaven to appear, Hu Mainyang had promised to announce it to the world. Damn it! Seeing Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, and the others looking at him excitedly, Chen Hao felt a headache coming on. Previously, he had concealed his strength for 2 reasons. First, the 3 strongest galaxies were indeed very strong. Hiding his strength would give him more confidence. Moreover, he also needed a few battles to temper himself and trigger heavenly punishment. Second, he and the members of Proud Heaven were the most hated and feared existences of the foreign races. If he revealed his identity too early, he would definitely become a thorn in the side of all the foreign races. However, in today's battle, because of Bailey Ningbing's sudden epiphany, Chen Hao had forced Du Jing to reveal all of his strength except for his poison arts. In order to defeat the elves, he had also revealed his powerful strength. At first, he thought that the other party would at most be suspicious. After all, Chen Hao believed that everyone had hidden their strength well. However, he didn't expect Maurice to directly say that he and Proud Heaven had appeared. Even more unexpected was that Lu Qianye, the most hated expert of the divine race, had pointed out Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, and himself. Under the gazes of countless people, Chen Hao knew that it was useless to continue pretending to be ignorant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom. With Chen Hao's permission, Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, and Chen Shui, as well as Chen Hao himself, suddenly erupted with extremely powerful auras and reverted to their true forms. Ha! I am Coiling Dragon. Lu Qianye, you have good eyesight, you grandson. You can still recognize us like this. Not simple. Coiling Dragon's wild laughter resounded through heaven and earth. His entire body expanded to 3 times its original size, releasing the aura of a ferocious beast. After reverting to his true form, Du Jing's eyes flashed with a soul-stirring cold aura. He stood side by side with Coiling Dragon. Under his ancient ferocious beast aura, he gave off a feeling that he wasn't weak at all. His body flickered with a dark green light, looking exceptionally terrifying. During the day, this fair-skinned young man had transformed into a beautiful woman in a blue dress. She had a graceful and exquisite body and a beautiful face. She was not inferior to the publicly recognized goddess, Humanenyang. Moreover, she gave people a feeling that she was more real than Humanenyang. This was real beauty, so beautiful that it shook people's souls. Compared to Humanenyang, who was worshipped by thousands of people, she gave off a completely different feeling. Each of them had their own merits. The 3 of them could be said to be shocking, but all eyes were focused on the mythical existence of the primitive secret realm, Chen Hao. His handsome and cold face, his pitch-black eyes were as deep as the vast ocean, and his slender figure stood proudly like an unsheathed sword. Regardless of whether it was a man or a woman, they all felt a kind of pressure that came from the soul. Chen Hao, the god of killing, was a nightmarish existence to all the foreign tribes that were once in the 9 seals of immortal sealing. Fleeing at the sight of him was a true portrayal of them in the past. Now, even though Chen Hao had disappeared for 200 years, the actions of the members of the proud heavens were all linked to the god of killing, Chen Hao. As a result, his prestige and influence didn't diminish at all. Now, even more cultivators who had never seen Chen Hao, the god of killing, felt a chill down their spines just by looking at Chen Hao's figure. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. This was the kind of pressure that came with the prestige of a king. Chapter 8:22. It's really you guys? Everyone stared blankly at Chen Hao and the others, but the first to speak was Humanenyang, who had a complicated expression on her face. Damn it, can you not be so fake? Chen Hao said telepathically. Mind your own business. I just don't know. Humanenyang said telepathically. On the surface, Chen Hao narrowed his eyes at Humanenyang and said cooperatively, What? Are you going to go back on your word and settle accounts with me? Since I said that I won't settle accounts with you for the time being, I won't make trouble for you now. In the face of righteousness, the human race should unite as one. You are very welcome to come. But don't you think it's a bit too much to hide it from me? Is there a difference? Isn't the result better now? Chen Hao said, but at the same time, he said telepathically, Why don't you continue to talk about me? What do you know about my image? Humanenyang said telepathically. Ha! What if aren't they? Don't tell me that only the 4 of you are here. Lu Qianye of the god race glared at Chen Hao and the others and laughed wildly. Are you an idiot? If you can tell who is who, how can I kill you? Du Jing said directly. I'm talking to Chen Hao, the god of killing. Who are you to interrupt? You think you're qualified to talk to our boss? I'm already thinking highly of you by telling you this. Du Jing said disdainfully. The shrewd, sinister, and cunning Du Jing was far more authentic than Coiling Dragon in this kind of situation. It was beneath Chen Hao to talk to Lu Qianye, but it was different for him. As expected of proud heaven, you're really proud of the world. Very good, you're the only ones who can be called the top geniuses of the 10 galaxies. Otherwise, even if we beat you humans, we won't feel any sense of accomplishment. Chen Hao, the god of killing, you're mine now. I hope you don't avoid this battle. Nye Fan, the top elite of the god race, stared at Chen Hao with excitement and anticipation. Nye Fan of the god race had always kept a low profile. Since he had stepped forward before this battle, there was no reason for him to keep a low profile. Since he was able to suppress Lu Qianye and the other three to become the leader of the Protoss, he naturally had absolute confidence in himself. At this moment, there was no falsehood in his words. He really did want to fight with Chen Hao. Although the god of slaughter Chen Hao hadn't appeared for 200 years, and although Hu Meinyang was a dazzling figure, the god of slaughter Chen Hao's influence was the greatest among the human race and even the 10 major galaxies. Anyone who could defeat or kill him would obtain unimaginable fame and fortune. The leader of the human race is Saintess Hu. I can't make the decision on what to do with her. Of course, if Saintess Hu arranges herself to deal with you, I won't mind, Chen Hao said with a smile. She didn't agree, nor did she refuse. Instead, she passed the ball to Hu Meinyang. Ha! None of you can take it away from me. God of slaughter Chen Hao, what do you think of what I said just now? Marichis of the insectoid race stared at Chen Hao with a burning gaze, as if he was staring at the most delicious prey. I hate insects the most, especially Hydra. Do you really think you're human just because you've cultivated a human form? Reptile is a reptile. You dare to insult me? Oh, so you also think that insects are inferior to humans? Interesting. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants finally spoke. There was still a faint smile on his face, but the only change was that his eyes were burning. The appearance of the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Aotian is really exciting. I think there's no need for nonsense. Let's do as Miss Mauritius said. 3 days later, we'll meet in the 4 major galaxies. I'm looking forward to the battle with Miss Hu, but at the same time, I'm also looking forward to the battle with the god of slaughter Chen Hao. It's really hard to choose. I'll make another suggestion that has nothing to do with the ownership of the Emperor Chalcedony. I don't know if everyone agrees. After the competition, let's have a free challenge. How about it? Ha! That's exactly what I'm thinking. Nyafan agree. I'm looking forward to it, Mauritius said without hesitation. Meinyang naturally has no objections, Hu Meinyang said without any change in her expression. Well, since everyone has no objections, it's settled then. That's it for today. 3 days later, the tyrants will fight the Protoss, and the insect race will fight the humans. God of slaughter, Aotian, God of slaughter, Aotian. The human race army shouted wildly, and their momentum reached an unprecedented peak. Countless cultivators who wanted to see the god of slaughter Chen Hao and the members of Aotian up close were almost crazy. The god of slaughter Chen Hao and the members of Aotian were really exposed, and the human race cultivators were completely burning with excitement. Even Hu Meinyang, the leader of the human race, was temporarily overshadowed by the god of slaughter Chen Hao and the members of Aotian. When Bailey Ningbing's epiphany ended, Hu Meinyang gave an order, and the human race army returned to the human race's encampment. Chen Shui, who had exposed her true identity, gently held Chen Hao's arm in front of everyone's eyes. She was in high spirits and beautiful beyond compare. On the other hand, Chen Hao's expression was calm and extraordinarily handsome. The two of them were peerless, and the human race cultivators, regardless of gender, were envious of them. The god of slaughter Chen Hao was a legend in the primitive mystic realm. And the people who created this legend, other than the god of slaughter Chen Hao's domineering killing of the foreign races, more important were the members of Aotian. There were no weaklings in Aotian. Even the weakest, Lan Feng, was a person who could stir up trouble on his own. Not to mention the wild and battle-thirsty Coiling Dragon and Du Jing. Of course, the most dazzling were the women of Aotian who had a clear relationship with Chen Hao. Chen Shui, Long Ting, Helian Wuzi, Tentai Lien, Xia Yu, the beautiful sisters. Each of them was a genius beauty that made cultivators drool. It was already a great blessing to have one, let alone all of them. It was also because of this that the god of slaughter Chen Hao was even more unfathomable. Bailey Ningbing looked at Chen Hao, who was flying in front of her, as if nothing had happened. He didn't even look at her. Her heart trembled slightly after her epiphany ended, and a bitter smile appeared on her face before she regained her composure. The transformation of her state of mind and the transcendence of her epiphany made her no longer confused, and she no longer had extravagant hopes. Chen Hao was able to help her at the crucial moment, and because of her, he exposed himself and Ao Tian. Wasn't that enough? If it was the previous her, she might have once again taken Chen Hao's disregard to heart. But now, she didn't think so. She wasn't willing to lower her head, let alone the god of slaughter Chen Hao. This was undoubtedly the best ending for him. The road is still very, very long, Bailey Ningbing muttered in her heart as she retracted her gaze. The Bug Race Encampment, Core Area. Morichis gathered all the experts of the Zerg race to prepare carefully for the battle after the three of them. The exposure of the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian's members, in addition to the existence of a top expert like Hu Meinyang, caused the human race to rise to the level of the tyrants, the Zerg race, and the Protoss. This made Morichis excited, but she also had to take it seriously. Similarly, the tyrants and the Protoss also specially analyzed the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian's members. As for the cultivators of the top 10 alien races, they were even more excited and restless in these 3 days. Just like what Chu Feiyang of the tyrants, Nya Fan of the Protoss, and Morichis of the Zerg race said, without the presence of the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian's members, even if they won, there was nothing to be proud of. Now, it could be considered a real battle between galaxies. The appearance of the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian's members is definitely not inferior to any of the 3 strongest races, the tyrants, the Protoss, and the Zerg race. The battle in 3 days is really exciting. I really want to see how beautiful the Dao partner of the god of slaughter Chen Hao is. Did you see that Chen Xiaobai today? He's not inferior even to the leader of the human race, Hu Meinyang. None of his women are inferior. In the past 200 years, they have appeared many times, and every time they appear, they cause a sensation. How strong is the god of slaughter Chen Hao? Why are Morichis, Chu Feiyang, and the others more interested in him than Hu Meinyang, the top expert? Morichis even confessed her love in public. Unfortunately, the god of slaughter Chen Hao didn't even bat an eye. How strong a person is, you only need to look at the people around him, especially how outstanding his Dao partner is, and you can almost judge it. Chen Hao has so many beautiful and talented women as his Dao partners, and they get along well with each other. It's definitely unfathomable. There's also Pan Long, Du Jing, and the other top talents of the human race. They can easily become overlords, but they're willing to follow the god of slaughter Chen Hao. It's even more unbelievable. Besides, the god of slaughter Chen Hao's reputation is undoubtedly the strongest in the primitive secret realm. If you can defeat him, you'll gain a lot of luck, not to mention fame. Naturally, it's more exciting than Hu Meinyang. The foreign races who were only qualified to watch the battle gathered in groups of 3 to 5, discussing the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian enthusiastically. The commotion caused by their exposure was definitely comprehensive. As for the human race, they were even more excited. Some who had expressed their strong desire to not hide anything and even humiliated Chen Hao and Ao Tian because they didn't come were now being attacked by their friends. The god of slaughter Chen Hao and Ao Tian had come long ago. They were just hiding their true identities because their influence was too great. How could they be cowards? Brother Chen, I want to join Ao Tian. Is it possible? In the human race, in Hu Meinyang's temporary palace, the human race experts gathered. As soon as they sat down according to their strength, Gao Lan stared at Chen Hao with burning eyes and said bluntly, "You? No problem. After all, you're a brother who fought side by side with Ao Tian. Your strength is also not bad. On behalf of Ao Tian, I welcome Brother Gao to join us." Chen Hao stared at Gao Lan and said, "Gao Lan, if there weren't any members of Ao Tian, was second only to Hu Meinyang and equal to Bailey Ningbing. Moreover, he was the first human race expert who volunteered to fight when he knew the danger. Such a person, whether it was strength or temperament, wouldn't be bad. Many thanks, Brother Chen." "You're still calling him Brother Chen?" Du Jing patted Gao Lan's shoulder with a paw and said frankly. "Boss." Gao Lan was suddenly suppressed by Chen Hao. He wanted to resist, but when he felt the numbing power of thousands of insects entering his body, his expression changed greatly. He hurriedly bowed to Chen Hao again and said. Chapter 8:23. Gao Lan had been ranked 4th in the Divine Temple before entering the Primal Secret Realm. He was far from Du Jing's level. Of course, Du Jing was similar to the 4 Mad Dragons. Although he was not in the top 10, he was a headache for the top 10. Du Jing was proficient in poison, while the 4 Mad Dragons were weak individually. But now, the power that one-handed Du Jing displayed with just a slap was not something that Gao Lan could contend against. He was shocked and excited at the same time. Killing God Chen Hao, a member of Proud Heaven. Without a doubt, Du Jing had improved tremendously after following Chen Hao. Boss, this Gao Lan has a strong background. He's the grandson of the Divine Temple's elder Gao Yuankong. He's the number 1 genius of the Gao family, and also one of the top 10 in the Divine Temple. He's a bit of a fool, and used to look down on my poison skills. Du Jing transmitted his voice to Chen Hao. Chen Hao nodded at Gao Lan, not showing any indifference. Proud Heaven had a special meaning to him. Not only was it the famous Proud Heaven here, but it was also the Proud Heaven on the Infinite Planet, and many of his brothers and sisters. After 2 battles, Chen Hao more or less understood Gao Lan's strength and character. Otherwise, he would not have agreed to join Proud Heaven so easily. But joining was one thing, but to become a core member was impossible for now. Hu Mainyang watched quietly, not stopping him. Her expression did not change at all. Brother Qin, do you still recognize me? Just as Hu Mainyang was about to speak, another voice came from behind her. A young girl stepped out from the crowd. It's you? Of course I do. Chen Hao smiled. What, you want to join Proud Heaven too? Huh, it's you, girl? You even stopped senior brother from fighting me. Pan Long could not help but say when he saw the girl. Brother Pan, hello. Brother Chen, can I? My name is Lin Xia, a disciple of the Divine Temple. Although my strength is average, I'm still stronger than most people. Furthermore, I'm confident that I can become even stronger. Lin Xia announced her name, her face filled with excitement and anticipation. You'd better think this through. Proud Heaven is a thorn in the side of the outsiders. Joining him will be very dangerous. Thank you, boss. I'm not afraid of danger. You won't disgrace Eodun's name. Lin Xia said without hesitation after hearing Chen Hao's words. Even the way they addressed him had changed. Miss Hu, let me in. Boss Chen, I'm Niu Air. Brother Lan Feng, I'm your sworn brother, Niu Air. At this moment, a shout came from outside the palace. Hu Mainyang finally frowned. It was one thing for 1 or 2 people to take the initiative to ask to join Proud Heaven, but now, even the human cultivators who weren't qualified to enter couldn't sit still. Where would she put her face as the leader of the human race? Lan Feng, go and see Niu Air. Also, if anyone else wants to join Proud Heaven, you can sign them up. Du Jing will be in charge of the final decision. Just bring him to me when the time comes. Yes, boss. Du Jing and Lan Feng, who was hidden in the crowd, answered at the same time. After speaking, the 2 of them walked out of the palace. Then, with a crash, the human experts who had entered the palace for Chen Hao and Proud Heaven suddenly swarmed out. At least a third of them disappeared in an instant. Some cultivators hesitated for a moment, then quickly followed him out. It was obvious that these were all cultivators who wanted to join Proud Heaven. Holy Maiden Hu, I'm sorry, but we can start now. Hu Mainyang glared at Chen Hao. Is Mainyang going to give you the position of leader of the human race? I wouldn't dare. The position of leader of the human race belongs to none other than Holy Maiden Hu. It's not something I, Chen Hao, can take up. I don't have the charisma. You mean you have the strength? Humph. I'll settle the old score between you and Mainyang after this battle. All right, God of Slaughter Chen Hao, members of Proud Heaven, you've all seen it. You can leave now. After speaking to Chen Hao, Hu Mainyang glanced at the remaining thousands of human experts and said indifferently, Miss Hu will always support you. Let's go. Some human cultivators cupped their fists and said, making their stance clear. However, they didn't know that Hu Mainyang had said such words on this occasion to confuse Chen Hao about her real relationship with him. After all, whether it was in the human race or in the other 9 galaxies, she and Chen Hao were mortal enemies. At this time, for the sake of the big picture, she could only suppress it for the time being. A bunch of idiots. If they knew that I even played with her girl, their eyeballs would fall to the ground, right? Chen Hao looked at the die-hard fans who had made their stance clear and said disdainfully in his heart. Chen Hao hadn't expected Proud Heaven to be so popular. However, it was clear that more people supported Hu Mainyang. Moreover, Chen Hao knew that many of the people who wanted to join Proud Heaven were Hu Mainyang's supporters. It was just that Hu Mainyang hadn't established her own faction yet. Otherwise, it would be hard to say how many people would join Proud Heaven. Of course, Chen Hao was just saying that. Hu Mainyang didn't gain the support of many cultivators just because of her appearance. Her freakishly powerful strength was the foundation. We'll fight the insectoids in 3 days. Today, we need to confirm the lineup in advance. You already know the situation with Ning Bing and Gao Lan. The others are all members of Proud Heaven, so you can decide. However, Mainyang has to remind you that Insectoid Maurice's is very strong. Even I don't have a 100% chance of winning against him. Moreover, their second, third, and fourth strongest fighters are also very strong. They're definitely among the top. Don't be careless. If you lose this battle in order to preserve your strength, it won't be worth it. In the palace, only the members of Proud Heaven and the participants of the human race were left. In fact, only Bailey Ning Bing and Gao Lan were of any significance. The rest of them were already useless against the elves. However, they couldn't be sent away at this time. You mean to use the strongest lineup? Chen Hao looked at Hu Mainyang and asked. You know Proud Heaven's situation better than I do. It's just that the insectoids didn't have many main forces in the first battle. Our understanding is limited. You decide how to arrange it, Hu Mainyang said. Those who are exposed naturally have to go. Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, Xiao Shui Mi, Gao Lan. Chen Hao looked at the silent Bailey Ning Bing and said, and Bailey Ning Bing, 7. Big brother, hiss. Chen Ling came to Chen Hao's side and grabbed Chen Hao's hand, saying, Ling, wants to go. Ever since she was taught a lesson by Chen Hao, the eccentric and lively Chen Ling had restrained herself a lot. However, today, she couldn't hold back anymore. It had been so long, but Chen Hao hadn't taken the initiative to talk to her. This made her very sad, disappointed, and wronged. Chen Hao stared at Chen Ling and hesitated for a moment before saying, Okay, you're in. Eunice. Huanhuanle, you two go. I'll go. Sister, let me go. I'm the eldest, naturally I'll go. Don't worry, there won't be any danger. It's the same whether you go or I go. Oh, okay. Are you sure there won't be a problem? Hu Mainyang frowned slightly. She had received very clear information. Chen Ling was fine, but among the members of Proud Heaven, Helian Wuzi, Long Ting, and Tantai Lien were very strong. The sisters were relatively weaker, but Chen Hao obviously didn't bring out the strongest lineup. Don't doubt the people you use, don't use those you doubt. Since you let me decide. Okay, just do as you say. If there's a problem, it's none of my business. Hu Mainyang knew that Chen Hao didn't have any good words. She directly interrupted him and said, Maurice's, are you going to go, or should I? She named me and provoked me. Who do you think will go? However, since Chu Feiyang proposed a free challenge, maybe you and I won't have a chance to fight with her. We'll see when the time comes. Big brother, do you hate Ling? Don't think too much. Be good in the future, how can I hate you? But, sometimes the demon in your heart isn't necessarily, I already know, don't say any more. Big brother, will you look down on Ling? I won't. Okay, we'll think of a way in the future. Don't think about it for now, or I won't be able to take it. Okay. After everyone finished discussing the situation that they should pay attention to when fighting against the Zergs, they stepped out of Hu Mainyang's palace at the same time. Chen Ling was still holding onto Chen Hao's arm. This was a very normal thing for the girls and everyone. Previously, under normal circumstances, even when Li Yang, the cultivation partner, was around, Chen Ling, the little girl, would be closer to Chen Hao. Even Chen Shui and the others wouldn't think much of it. Moreover, Chen Hao did dote on this little sister who was strange and powerful. But at this time, if the girls knew the content of the conversation between the two, they wouldn't be so calm. Hiss. A breeze blew, and Chen Hao appeared in Hu Mainyang's palace again. He sat cross-legged in front of her. What's a demon in your heart? What Hu Mainyang didn't expect was that Chen Hao looked at her very seriously this time and asked, "A demon in your heart is an evil thought. It's born from the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If it grows stronger, you will eventually be controlled by it and lose yourself." What's an obsession? An obsession is an existence that is completely opposite to a demon in your heart, but is also similar. To a certain extent, they can be interchangeable. They're both born from the 7 emotions and 6 desires, so there's no difference in essence. It's nothing more than good and evil, light and darkness. What? Could it be that the great killing god Chen Hao has developed emotions that can't be distinguished from an obsession or a demon in his heart? Why don't you tell me? Hu Mainyang stared at Chen Hao. Chapter 8:24. Then I'll have to disappoint you. I was just asking. Chen Hao looked at Hu Mainyang, who seemed to be waiting for a good show. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Is that so? I've been coexisting with the devil fetus for so many years and can maintain a pure heart. I have some understanding of how to subdue the inner demons. Since you don't need it, I won't say anything." Hu Mainyang smiled. "What is good and what is evil? Aren't you just asking? Forget it, I'll be the one to explain the Tao to you today. The so-called good and evil are the same as the inner demons and obsessions. The so-called good and evil of ordinary people are nothing more than the winner takes all. Success is good and failure is evil. But on the path of cultivation, good and evil are control and loss of control. If you can control it, it's obsessions. If you lose control, it's evil, it's the inner demons. What is control and loss of control? Obsessions and inner demons are desire. Obsessions exist forever. Even if you can't achieve it in your life, or even if you achieve it, it won't have any negative impact on yourself or the cultivation world. It's control, it's good. Otherwise, it's the inner demons, it's evil. This is a kind of expansion of desire that has no end. As time passes, it becomes stronger and more harmful. Falling into complete loss of control and immersing oneself in desire, it's evil. The path of cultivation isn't bitter. What's bitter is that the cultivator has too many desires. The heart has no inner demons, but because there are too many desires and too many things that can't be let go, the inner demons are born. Desire is like sand in the hand. The tighter you hold, the more you lose. The more you lose when you let go. Should you hold or let go? It has to be just right. If you let go too much, you'll lose the courage to improve. If you let go too much, your obsessions will turn into demons. Just like gains and losses. When you get something, you might be losing it. When you lose it, you might be in possession. Give up the pursuit of enlightenment. Give up the small to gain the big. Give up the absurd to retain the true. Give up the false to obtain the real. Hu Mainyang's initial teasing was completely gone. She was like a goddess, solemn and dignified. She was surrounded by Tao principles and thousands of Taos resonated. Her ethereal and seductive voice was like the sound of the great Tao. It shone with golden light and entered Chen Hao's eardrums, heart and spleen, and heart lake. On the other hand, Chen Hao slowly closed his eyes. His spiritual altar bloomed and he naturally entered the state of selflessness. Preaching the Tao. But there's actually such a subtle feeling. Hu Mainyang muttered to herself as she stared at Chen Hao, who had been brought into a state of enlightenment by her. You're still denying it? How stubborn. Is it because of me? Ripples appeared in Hu Mei's heart lake. Chen Hao's problem today was his inner demons and obsession. Based on Hu Mainyang's understanding of Chen Hao, it seemed that other than her, Chen Hao's people like Chen Shui would not be able to make him fall into a situation where he could not distinguish between them. Loneliness like the snow will never return, and the spring water of the river begins to overflow. My heart is unsettled. If I get it, it's what I deserve. If I lose it, it's what I should lose. Gains and losses are predestined. Why can't I be calm? Fate comes and goes, gains and losses are predestined. The heart does not increase or decrease, the wind does not move. The mortal world refines the heart, naturally. Don't be stubborn, don't have wild thoughts. Hu Mainyang stared at Chen Hao's handsome face and heaved a long sigh of relief. She calmed the ripples in her heart and naturally entered the state of selflessness and tranquility. She was so holy and dignified. Senior brother's love is the real Big Brother. Big Brother's love is. It's a pity that Big Brother has not broken through to the third realm of spirit cultivation. He can't see anything. Is taboo love really as powerful as Master said? What if Big Brother can't bear it? Ling, you promised Senior Brother. You can't act recklessly. I believe that Big Brother can handle it well. Senior Brother, I think that no matter if Big Brother likes or loves me, he will not do anything to let you down. What if it turns into an inner demon and negatively affects Big Brother? What should we do? It's true that Big Brother likes you. If it turns into an inner demon, then we'll kill it. If we can't kill it, then we only need to. Li Yang's divine consciousness remained in Qin Ling's mind. If Chen Hao knew about it, what would he think? Obsessions and inner demons. Chen Ling had endured Chen Hao's Red Dust Heart Sutra's 9th level, the 7 emotions and 6 desires illusory realm. Moreover, it had been specifically designed to kill the inner demons of evil for her. Unfortunately, after an entire month, there was no effect at all. This was because after Chen Hao's divine sense sealed Chen Ling, he simply couldn't find the so-called inner demons of evil. This was also why Chen Hao was unable to face Chen Ling's words and fell into a state of confusion. 3 days later, the 10 galaxies advanced towards the core region of the Emperor Jade Marrow at almost the same time. The human race's morale soared to an unprecedented level. Even Hu Mainyang had to admit that killing God Chen Hao and Proud Heaven were like the stabilizing force in the hearts of the human race cultivators. She could not compare to them alone. No matter how strong she was, she could not dominate the overall situation in this team battle. However, killing God Chen Hao and Proud Heaven's members could. The first battle was between the Tyrants and the Protoss. This battle should have happened 3 days ago. However, the confident Morris did not want to take advantage of the situation, and Lu Qianye of the Protoss had clearly exposed Proud Heaven, so the battle was delayed until today. It was impossible to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. The result would only be clear after a real battle. Both the Tyrants and the Protoss were confident in their teams. They were determined to win this battle and win the most important victory since the start of the competition. They're not simple. There are so many new faces. Could this be their strongest lineup? I told you to be careful. The 3 top galaxies will never reveal their strongest lineup before a real battle. Until now, they've hidden their strength better than us. If we lose today, let's see how you'll be able to show your face. Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang secretly communicated with each other when the masters from the Tyrants, the Protoss, and the Bug clans stepped forward. Apart from a few obvious experts from the 3 major races, there were 4 or 5 experts who had concealed their auras and had never appeared before. Obviously, these were the true experts with trump cards in their hands. As for the human race, there was no doubt about Hu Mainyang. Everyone knew her. As for killing God Chen Hao and Proud Heaven's members, only Helian Wuzi and a few other women did not reveal their identities and played a role in confusing the other party. Compared to the situation where countless masters from the 3 top galaxies competed for the right to participate in the competition, it was simply incomparable. Gains and losses, gains and losses. When you gain, you may be losing. When you lose, you may be in possession. Why are you so stubborn, Saintess Hu? Bah! You're using my words against me. Do you have any shame? Chapter 8:25. Proud Heaven is stronger than you think. Chen Hao didn't continue to tease him. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and exuded confidence. Coiling Dragon and Chen Ling had two ultimate inheritances. Chen Shui, who had half an innate Taoist fetus and obtained the destructive thunder inheritance. Du Jing, who had integrated poison into his every move and cultivated the Silkworm King. Xia Yuyu, who was originally from the emotionless swordsmanship and had obtained the supreme inheritance of the emotionless swordsmanship from an ancient almighty. Leng Ninghuan, who was gifted in speed and had cultivated the great teleportation. Chen Hao believed that as long as the members of Proud Heaven avoided the top 3 experts of the Bug Clan and arranged their opponents reasonably, they would have a high chance of winning the competition. With the addition of him and Hu Mainyang, the chances of them obtaining the final victory were, at least in his opinion, very high. In particular, during the 200 years that he had been in seclusion, every time the members of Proud Heaven returned, Long Ting, who had obtained the heaven-defying inheritance of the Great Dream's Heart Sutra, would perform the Great Dream's Heart Sutra and allow everyone to enter the true state of thoughtless tranquility. The effect of their cultivation increased by several times. Tantai Lian's hellfire helped everyone kill their inner demons, refine their souls, and train their willpower. Helian Wuzi's chaotic divine light also trained everyone in all aspects. How strong were the members of Proud Heaven now? Even Chen Hao, who hadn't experienced it himself, couldn't accurately estimate it. The tyrants will win. Invincible in the Chaos Galaxy. The Protoss will win. Number 1 in the Divine Territory. When the first cultivator from the tyrants, the Chaos Galaxy, the Protoss, and the Divine Territory Galaxy took the lead, the cheers of the various galaxies resounded throughout the world. If the top 4 of the Protoss don't appear, no one can compete with me. Whoosh! A stream of light flashed past. A cultivator from the tyrants, who had disguised his aura and appearance and hadn't shown his face before, stepped onto the stage arrogantly and let out a domineering voice. Remember the name of the person who defeated you, Lan Guang. Whoosh, Lan Guang. It's actually Lan Guang? I can't see through his disguise at all. Lan Guang, who was ranked 4th among the tyrants before entering the primitive mystic realm. When the tyrants competed for the top 10 contestants this time, he had displayed extremely terrifying combat power. Now, he was definitely the 5th expert of the tyrants. Lan Guang. Lan Guang. In an instant, Lan Guang's name resounded throughout the entire world. Haha, the tyrants are indeed arrogant. Do they think that we, the Protoss, only have 4 experts? I, Chen Zhan, will send you to the afterlife today. Morning battle. Isn't he just the 6th expert of the Shin clan? Rumble, neither of them was willing to submit to the other. In order to gain fame and gather luck, they exchanged their names and announced it to the world. Then they directly started fighting. The Protoss ranked 6th against the tyrants ranked 5th. If it were any other race, there might be a huge gap between the 5th and 6th place. However, the Protoss and the tyrants both had many experts. Even the gap between the 5th and 10th place was not that big. After more than 10 minutes, the result of the battle was clear. Chen Zhan of the Protoss was defeated, and Lan Guang of the tyrants won by a narrow margin. The tyrants and the Protoss are really too strong. Even the experts in the middle of the rankings are so terrifying. The cultivators of the various races only watched one match, and they were already shocked. Either one of them could be considered one of the top experts in other galaxies. The elimination round and the duel between the humans and the elves could not be compared to the battle between the two of them. This caused the humans, who had been full of confidence in Proud Heaven, to waver. In the second round, the tyrants took the lead, but the Protoss seized the opportunity and caught up. In the third round, Lu Qianye of the Protoss took the lead and defeated the 4th expert of the tyrants. One was the 4th of the Protoss, and the other was the 4th of the tyrants. It was clear that Lu Qianye, who used to be the leader of the Protoss, was stronger than expected. At the same time, it also sounded the alarm for the tyrants. Even Chu Feiyang became serious. If the top 3 experts of the Protoss were all stronger than Lu Qianye, the tyrants would probably be defeated today. Fortunately, after the tyrants sent out their 3rd expert, They defeated the third expert sent out by the Protoss in a high-profile manner and turned the tables. The battle continued until it was a tie. Both the Tyrants and the Protoss only had the top expert and 2 lower-ranked experts left. Everyone did not expect such a situation. At this moment, if Chu Feiyang and Nye Fan were to avoid each other, it would definitely be a draw. Unless the strong fought against the strong or the weak fought against the weak, then there was hope for one side to win. Chu Feiyang, Nye Fan, am looking forward to fighting with you. I hope you won't disappoint me. You go. The top expert of the Protoss, Nye Fan, directly sent another cultivator to the stage. Don't worry, I will fulfill your wish. Chu Feiyang looked at the last cultivator with a serious expression and gave the order. Even if Nye Fan didn't issue a challenge, he would still choose to fight against Nye Fan. He was confident that he could defeat Nye Fan and win a victory for the Tyrants. If the other contestant could win, the Tyrants would win. If he lost, it would be a tie. Naturally, he had to take the risk. Similarly, Nye Fan had the same idea as Chu Feiyang, which was why he provoked him. Very good, this is straightforward. Strength is strength. It doesn't make much sense to rely on tactical arrangements. If everyone can do this, then the real number 1 will be revealed. Hu Meinyang killing God Chen Hao, do you like it? While the 2 experts of the Tyrants and the Zerg race were fighting, Zerg Queen Morichis looked at Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao and said provocatively, "If everyone can do this, it's indeed not bad," Hu Meinyang said bluntly. "It doesn't matter. If everyone is exposed, the human race will naturally accompany you." Chen Hao also said directly. The other party also had hidden experts. Relatively speaking, it was only the women on their side who didn't reveal who was who. They were not as good as the other party who had many hidden experts. The Protoss will win. The Protoss will be number 1. More than 10 minutes later, the Protoss cultivators burst into cheers. The Protoss took the lead again, making the score 5-4. They were already in an invincible position. We won, huh? Nye Fan let out a wild laugh that resounded through the world. The battle intent around him rose wildly, and he flew directly to the broken peak. We actually lost this battle. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants shook his head. Immediately, like a scorching sun, he cut through the sky and said, "We can only tie for the time being." Terrifying turbulence spread in all directions with Chu Feiyang's appearance. The law of remarkable powers filled the air, and the pressure was monstrous. You don't have a chance. Nye Fan's surging physical strength made his whole person like a pillar supporting the sky. No matter how terrifying Chu Feiyang's pressure was, not even a strand of his hair moved. His whole person seemed to have turned into an immortal King Kong. It's good to be confident, but you're too arrogant. The moment Chu Feiyang arrived, he waved his hand and took the lead. In an instant, mysterious runes filled the entire broken peak, and the energy of heaven and earth was directly sucked dry. Who's the arrogant one? It's not based on words. Nye Fan proudly took a step forward, and the whole broken peak trembled violently. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the 2 of them fought together. Too strong. Is he still a celestial being? At this moment, countless people were shocked. The seal laid down by the top 10 experts, and under the premise of constantly pouring in energy, had just begun at this moment, but there were already signs of collapse. No matter if it's a participant or a spectator, each galaxy will send out 1,000 experts to reinforce the seal. Otherwise, everything within a radius of 10,000 miles will be turned into ashes. Insect Race Maurice said directly. But Hu Meinyang was the first to respond. No problem. Although the cultivators from other galaxies had already lost the qualification to fight, no one wanted to miss such a peak confrontation. Naturally, they would not object. In an instant, the 10,000 experts from the top 10 galaxies gathered around the broken peak according to their respective camps like locusts, and at the same time, they released a powerful force and divine ability law, which integrated into the seal. This allowed the seal to be completely stabilized. Tut! Buzz, buzz, buzz. On the broken peak, Chu Feiyang let out a light shout, and a bright sword light suddenly gushed out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, The aura of an ancient sacred artifact swept across the whole heaven and earth. What? Countless people widened their eyes in horror, and Nye Fan, who bore the brunt of it, even turned into a flash of light and retreated quickly. Nye Fan, you do have the capital to be confident, but in front of me, Chu Feiyang, you're still arrogant. To be able to force out one of my trump cards, even if you lose, you have enough to be proud. 10,000 sword kill. Buzz. Chi-chi-chi. Rumble. 100 ancient sacred swords condensed into one of Chu Feiyang's strongest killing moves, 10,000 sword kill. Very strong. Even Qin Hao and Hu Mainyang's expression became dignified. The 10,000 sword kill itself contained the divine ability law, which was an ultimate technique, but the real strong point was that Chu Feiyang was activating 100 ancient sacred swords at the same time. Not to mention 100, it was difficult for an ordinary cultivator to even get one. Moreover, even if there were ancient sacred swords, the cultivator would be limited by their own divine sense, essence, qi, spirit, true yuan and realm, and the number of swords that could be activated at the same time was extremely limited. However, Chu Feiyang was able to activate 100 swords, and the aura that was released from each sword was obviously fully activated. This was definitely an extremely heaven-defying thing. For Extreme's transformation, Nye Fan roared. Because of the deficiency of the divine race's talent, he only contains simple divine ability law, but at this moment, his essence, qi, spirit and the power of his physical body erupted like a volcano. In an instant, his figure, which was not tall, crazily soared at this moment, especially his arms and legs, which instantly grew to 100 feet, 1,000 feet. Oh, the 4 limbs of his body soared, and the sound of breaking through the air turned into the roar of a dragon, a tiger, a bird, and a turtle. 4 Extremes transformation. The 4 extremes are the 4 limbs, and the 4 images are the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. The highest realm, raising one's hands and feet, the roar of a tiger, the cry of a dragon, the cry of a phoenix, and the roar of a turtle. This is one of the strongest physical body talents of the divine race. This Nye Fan has actually cultivated to the extreme realm, no wonder he is so confident. However, this should be his strongest trump card. It's still hard to say who will win and who will lose. Hu Mainyang murmured to Qin Hao through telepathy. There was no other way. In the human race, only Qin Hao was the most familiar with her, and only Qin Hao's strength was on par with hers, so she could communicate with him. Chu Feiyang won. But what Hu Mainyang did not expect was that Qin Hao directly said, "His 10,000 sword kill is only on the surface, the real killing move is the 10,000 sword kill as one. This ultimate skill of his is a continuous ultimate skill." Qin Hao said again. Chapter 8:26. Consecutive attacks are not accurate, it should be called a combination of unique skills. Qin Hao saw Hu Mainyang frowning and added, "If Nye Fan can resist the 1,000 sword kill, then he will have to face the 1,000 sword unite. If he can't resist the 1,000 sword kill, then there's no need to talk about it. How did you see it?" The mystery of the runes and the change of qi. Qin Hao squinted his eyes and stared at the broken peak, and said faintly, "Boom." Rumble. The collision of the unique skills caused the most terrifying wave since the start of the competition. It covered the sky and the sun, and the energy raged. Who is the arrogant one? Nye Fan's arrogant laughter came out from the dust. Obviously, he resisted Chu Feiyang's 1,000 sword kill. 1,000 sword unite. What? But what answered Nye Fan was Chu Feiyang's calm and cold voice filled with killing intent. Immediately, Nye Fan exclaimed in shock. The raging energy and the 100 ancient swords that had been blown apart by Nye Fan suddenly emitted even more terrifying humming sounds at this moment. The 100 swords that seemed to be in a mess suddenly blossomed with dazzling runes. Like sparks, they lit up one after another and soon merged into one. Their auras were connected, and the runes were connected, turning into a giant rune made of 100 swords with a divine ability. Chi-chi-chi. The raging energy was swallowed up directly. The 100 swords changed their direction and cut through the void from all directions. They carried a power that was several times stronger than the 1,000-sword kill, and they attacked Nye Fan. A mournful, frightened, unwilling and heart-wrenching roar suddenly burst out from Nye Fan's roar. I admit defeat, Seal. Chi 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 chi. The moment Nye Fan had no choice but to admit defeat, the true origin, spirit, and physical strength in his body crazily gathered towards his head. The power of every cell was forcefully sucked out and sealed into his brain. He was very clear that serious injuries were unavoidable. Whether he could keep his life depended on this. Puff puff puff. Boom boom boom. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Nye Fan's huge body, which had transformed into an elephant, was directly annihilated by the terrifying sword light. Only his head, which had condensed all of his strength, was still shining with a jade-like light. It broke through the air and fled toward the ceiling enchantment. You're wise. Chu Feiyong's calm but cold voice was filled with boundless arrogance. However, he didn't waste his energy to chase after Nye Fan. Firstly, Nye Fan had already admitted defeat in advance. Secondly, it wouldn't be easy for him to truly kill Nye Fan, who possessed an immortal and indestructible body. Thirdly, even if he could kill Nye Fan, he would probably hold back. The reason was simple. If Nye Fan was killed, the Protoss would be much weaker in the battle against the Zerg race and the humans. If the Protoss were weaker, their chances of winning would be higher. This was disadvantageous to the Tyrants, who were on par with the Protoss. The Tyrants and Protoss were tied at 5-5. There would be no additional matches in the round-robin tournament for the time being. If the results of the two clans were still the same in the end, the new members would have to compete in another round to determine the winner. As expected, no one knew that when the dust settled, the former leader of the god race, Lu Qianye, looked at Nye Fan's head and thought to himself, "Only I, Lu Qianye, can control the Protoss. Simversu, killing God Shen Hao, Aoting, I, Lu Qianye, have led the Protoss to hunt you down for more than 100 years. Do you really think that I don't have the ability to kill one of you? It's just a miniature aircraft. I, Lu Qianye, will give you a big surprise. Tremble in fear. What do you mean by Loki? I, Lu Qianye, am the real Loki." Such a powerful technique, and it's only 2 moves. Chu Feiyong of the Tyrants is too strong. The number 1 expert of the Tyrants is indeed powerful. I don't know if Chu Feiyong is deliberately exaggerating or if he really has a more powerful trump card. If he does, then it's really incredible. I'm afraid that no one can defeat him. Yes, the Tyrants are the strongest among the 10 galaxies. Chu Feiyong can stand out among them and become the leader of the Tyrants. He's definitely an unfathomable existence. Countless people stared at Chu Feiyong, who was slowly flying out of Broken Peak, and disgust. Although the Tyrants' cultivators had fought to a draw, their cheers and cheers at this moment were filled with vigor and vigor. It's finally time for the insect race to appear. Hu Mainyang, killing God Shen Hao, isn't it time for you to reveal yourselves? Chi. As the insect race queen spoke, she waved her hand at the 9 people behind her. Immediately, a few disguised cultivators shone with a dense aura and returned to their true forms. Hu Mainyang smiled slightly and nodded gently at Chen Hao. Reveal yourselves. Chen Hao's solemn eyes bloomed with a touch of sharpness. Chi. Xia Yuyu, Leng Ninghuan, and Chen Ling directly released their auras and returned to their true forms. Whoosh! The picturesque Xia Yuyu, the charming Leng Ninghuan, and the extraordinary Chen Ling instantly became the focus of all the cultivators' attention. Not all of them are the strongest of the proud heavens? Originally, because of the existence of Bailey Ningbing and Gao Lan, although everyone thought that the 2 of them were not as strong as the members of the proud heavens, they thought that it was the result of the game between Hu Mainyang and killing God Shen Hao. After all, the participants of the human race could not all be members of the proud heavens. Therefore, they thought that the 3 women who hid their auras should be the strongest of the proud heavens. However, except for Chen Ling, who majored in soul cultivation, Xia Yuyu and the 2 sisters were obviously not the strongest of the proud heavens. Killing God Chen Hao is indeed worthy of being called Killing God, worthy of being called Proud Heavens. You want to win against the insect race with such a lineup? Killing God Chen Hao, are you really not going to consider what I said before? Not interested. Stop talking nonsense, let's begin. Maybe after today's battle with me, you will change your mind. I welcome you at any time. You go. A humanoid insect race cultivator with scales all over his body and a shining tail behind his buttocks suddenly let out a bestial roar and flew towards Broken Peak. Breaking Beetle King, the sixth strongest of the insect race. Hu Mainyang's eyes flashed as she said softly. Although the difference in strength between the other insect race cultivators was very small, there was still a small gap. Sending out the middle of the group was no doubt the best choice. Xia Yuyu. Chen Hao looked directly at Xia Yuyu and said softly. Xia Yuyu turned into a ray of light and flew onto the stage. Xia Yuyu? As expected, that's her real name. Isn't she the Tao companion of Killing God Chen Hao on the Everlasting Star? You just found out? Chen Xiaobai was Killing God Chen Hao's Tao companion on the Everlasting Star, Chen Shui. Many people had already guessed that. The sisters were Ling Ning Huan and Ling Ning Lu. There's also Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, and so on. These are the real names of the Proud Heaven women. However, it's only now that Killing God Chen Hao has officially revealed his identity. He has a miniature flying device and can hide his real identity. He used a fake identity to obtain the right to enter the primitive secret realm. Could it be that the background of Killing God Chen Hao and the others is, of course? Chen Hao deliberately called Xia Yu by her full name, causing quite a commotion among the human cultivators. However, most of them had already guessed the true identities of the Proud Heaven women. After all, the fake names they had used before could be associated with their real names. With the rise of Killing God Chen Hao, the cultivators from the Asian Ing planet who knew Chen Hao's background very well had long since used it as a topic of conversation. But today, at this moment where they were fighting for the honor of humanity, where all eyes were on them, and where destiny was gathered, Death God Chen Hao had officially revealed her identity as an outstanding woman. After a short discussion, Xia Yuyu's name exploded in the human camp, resounding through the heavens and earth. To rumble. A sharp and merciless sword light bloomed. The battle had begun. Chen Hao's eyes emitted an intimidating light as he stared at Broken Peak. The sixth strongest of the insectoid race was on par with Xia Yuyu in terms of absolute strength. Even Chen Hao was not completely sure if he could win this battle. However, after watching for 2 minutes, Chen Hao's eyes dimmed and a smile appeared on his face. 200 years, Yuyu. Their growth and battle experience are better than I expected. Chen Hao's emotions surged as he gazed at this innocent girl who was the first to dual cultivate with him and who made him strongly want to step into the cultivation world of the Eastern continent. So many years had passed. Although they still hadn't broken through the last line of defense, they had all become a part of each other's lives. Xia Yuyu was like that, and so were the other girls. Chen Hao knew that the girls had put in unimaginable effort to catch up to him. The battle ended in 10 minutes. Under Xia Yuyu's ruthless sword Dao and terrifying battle intent, the insectoid king's scales scattered all over Broken Peak. It threw away its armor and fled from the seal. Proud Heaven. At this moment, not only Morichis of the insectoid race, but also the experts of the tyrants and the Protoss showed a dignified expression. In the second round, Gao Lan, the new member of Proud Heaven, was the first to appear. Although he knew that he was the weakest among the 10 humans, Gao Lan's battle intent still rose. To him, having the title of Proud Heaven was like having an invincible halo. Even if he lost this battle, he wanted to show his strongest strength in front of Chen Hao, Proud Heaven, and all the other human cultivators. When the insectoids saw that it was Gao Lan, they sent out the 10th strongest of the insectoid race without any hesitation. Gao Lan, who had already fought twice, was very clear to everyone. Although Gao Lan tried his best and exceeded his standard, he still ended up in a miserable state and almost lost his life. In the third round, the 5th strongest of the insectoid race appeared. Chen Hao did not use any tactics and directly sent Du Jing to fight. After seeing that it was Du Jing, the fifth strongest of the insectoid race, frowned. It was not because Du Jing was strong, but because no ordinary cultivator would be willing to fight with Du Jing, the poisonous killer. They would rather fight with someone stronger than Du Jing. Even if he were to lose, he would still feel good about it. However, Du Jing, who was covered in poison, made the cultivators stronger than him tremble in fear, unable to fight to their heart's content. It's really bad luck to meet you. Why are you scared? If you are, then admit defeat, lest I refine you into a poisonous creature. Scared? Without poison techniques, I can kill 10 of you. With poison techniques, at most, I'll feel suffocated. Killing you is still as easy as killing a chicken. Is that so? I'll beat you with my strength. Today, I won't use poison techniques to slap your face. Du Jing seemed to be angered by his opponent's words. He, who had always been surrounded by poisonous insects, actually raised his sword and attacked his opponent. Chapter 8:27. Humph, I'll be damned if I believe you. No other cultivator would believe Du Jing's words, not to mention this insect clan expert. Du Jing, the proud heaven poisonous hand, was famous for being insidious and cunning. Experts of the same level would fall into his trap if they were careless. It was impossible to guard against him. Therefore, this insect clan expert was very cautious and careful. He was highly focused all the time to prevent Du Jing from suddenly using his unpredictable poison skills. Du Jing, on the other hand, was bold and fierce. It seemed that he was going to take down his opponent with his real strength. He had the momentum of a coiling dragon. The more Du Jing acted like this, the more the insect clan expert did not dare to use his full strength. However, as time went by, the insectoid expert who had to deal with Du Jing's poison technique, who had always kept a backup plan, became more and more depressed as the fight went on. Every time he felt that he had a chance and wanted to go all out, Du Jing, who was fiercely attacking, would suddenly make some strange movements very stealthily. This made him feel that Du Jing had deliberately left a flaw, so he had to forcibly suppress himself. However, after he suppressed himself, Du Jing returned to normal. He did not even show a single poisonous insect. It was not until Du Jing became fiercer and completely suppressed the fifth insect clan expert that this insect clan expert came to his senses. However, it was too late now. In the end, Du Jing did not even use his poison skills and forced him to escape from the seal of Broken Peak. He spat out a mouthful of blood. It was partly because he was injured by Du Jing, but more because he was angry. With such IQ, why do I need to use my poison skills? Du Jing returned triumphantly while laughing wildly in front of everyone's dumbfounded eyes. The insect clan expert vomited blood while the human clan was cheering happily. Even Chen Hao could not help but admire Du Jing's insidiousness. He knew that the opponent would not believe him and attacked unscrupulously. He did not use any energy to prepare his poison skills at all. During this time, he just made it look like he was using his poison skills, which scared the opponent so much that he did not dare to use his full strength. As a result, he was tragically suppressed by Du Jing, purely based on combat strength. Shameless guy. He's too cunning. If our people attacked with all their strength from the beginning and were not afraid of his poison skills, the result would not be like this. This poison hand Du Jing really lives up to his reputation. He didn't even use his poison technique, but he was able to defeat his opponent with his mind. Brother Du is mighty, too awesome. All kinds of discussions between outsiders and humans rose in the air. Motherfucker, stop being so cocky. Big Brother will show you what absolute power is in a moment. Coiling Dragon looked at Du Jingyo and said with disdain, Brother Pan, you don't have to be like this even if I stole your rice bowl. I learned that aura just now from you. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy to deal with that guy. Du Jing didn't mind at all. Fuck, it's because you're like me that I'm not happy. If you want to learn, you should learn better. Aren't you embarrassing me? That won't do. There's a disparity between our innate conditions. How can my body and figure be compared to a humanoid ferocious beast like you, Brother Pan? That's true. Zerg Queen Morris's expression was as usual. She didn't change at all after losing this match. With the majority of Proud Heaven's members, whom Mainyang had already handed over the command to Chen Hao. After all, only Chen Hao knew the true strength of Proud Heaven's members. It was reasonable for him to do so. With a 2-1 lead, the humans should be the first to enter the field. Bailey Ningbing couldn't help but feel nervous. This was the first time a human took the initiative to enter the field. Chen Hao sent out Gao Lan. Obviously, it was the battle that Chen Hao wanted to give up. This time, it would be her. Saintess who, what do you think? However, to Bailey Ningbing's surprise as well as everyone else's, Chen Hao actually looked at Hu Mainyang and said. Even Hu Mainyang was slightly stunned. After staring at Chen Hao for a few seconds, she said, "Up to you." As soon as Hu Mainyang finished speaking, she appeared on top of Broken Peak. What's the meaning of this? Zerg race Morrisis, Tyrant race Chu Feiyang, Protoss race Lu Qinye, and the others frowned slightly. Obviously, they were confused by killing God Chen Hao's arrangement. Who was Hu Mainyang? She was the #1 expert with the highest recognition rate in the 10 major galaxies. She was even more famous than Tyrant race Chu Feiyang. However, Chen Hao actually let her enter the field first. This was undoubtedly too wasteful. There was no need to think too much. Morrisis, who had clearly expressed that she was looking forward to fighting with Chen Hao, would definitely not choose Hu Mainyang. The other experts of the Zerg race were no match for Hu Mainyang. Under such circumstances, there was no doubt that as long as Morrisis wasn't an idiot, she would let the weakest Zerg admit defeat without even entering the field. If I don't enter the field, the humans will be leading 3-1. Next, if Killing God Chen Hao avoids me, he will definitely win 4 rounds. They still have Coiling Dragon, Chen Shao, Chen Shui, Chen Ling, Leng Ninghuan, Bailey Ningbing. Their overall strength is probably not worse than my Zerg contestants. Morrisis thought for a moment and her face suddenly became ugly. It was only now that she realized how terrifying Killing God Chen Hao and the members of Proud Heaven were. Boss is trying to lock in the victory, Du Jing said telepathically. Brother Pan, you have to take the initiative. Don't make it so that you don't even have a chance to enter the field. Nonsense. Senior brother, don't you know me? I might go in the next round. Don't worry, if I can't enter the field, I'll look for you. Don't worry, Brother Pan. If you take the initiative, you'll definitely be able to enter the field. Du Jing's mouth twitched. The reason why he reminded Coiling Dragon was that he was afraid that this guy wouldn't be able to vent his anger and would find trouble with him. He's avoiding me. If he wins 1 round, I'll also win 1 round. It's not a loss. As for the final outcome, as long as I arrange it properly, it's not impossible. Why should I be afraid? Morrisis frowned and pondered. Her eyes flashed with sharpness as she suddenly looked at the weakest Zerg contestant. I admit defeat. The weakest Zerg contestant was extremely depressed. However, he was very straightforward. Just like everyone else, he did not even enter the field and directly admitted defeat. Hu Mainyang did not even release her aura. She just stood on Broken Peak for a few seconds and floated back. 3-1, the humans are in the lead. Boom. Huh. What? At this time, something shocking happened again. Zerg Queen Morrisis actually released an extremely powerful aura and slowly rose up. Killing God Chen Hao, don't say that you don't dare to accept the challenge. Morrisis looked at Chen Hao provocatively and suddenly turned into a stream of light and rushed up Broken Peak. Smart. The humans obviously want to lock in the victory. If Killing God Chen Hao wanted to avoid Morrisis, naturally, he could easily avoid it. Morrisis directly went up to challenge Chen Hao. If Chen Hao went up, as long as she could win, it would naturally be for the best. I believe that she did this because she was confident. If Chen Hao did not go up, she would also take the initiative to go up the stage and be chosen by the opponent and win a round. As long as the humans do not send Chen Hao in the next round, the Zergs will be able to tie the score. It's hard to say who will win and who will lose. The smart ones quickly saw through Chen Hao and Morris's intentions. Very straightforward. Chen Hao smiled slightly. Boss, should we just send a random person or just send a random person? If we waste Morrisis, we'll definitely win. The Du Jing suddenly said. He did not hide his voice at all. Countless cultivators were speechless. What the fuck was he saying? He was really shameless to the extreme. Only the human cultivators liked Du Jing's words. They were also very clear that doing as Du Jing said was undoubtedly the best choice. However, whether it was the humans or the Zergs, they were still looking forward to killing God Chen Hao's appearance. After 200 years, you little brat are already looking down on me, your boss? Cough cough, boss, I didn't mean that. Boss, isn't it easy to win against her? It's just that if we can save energy, we will naturally save energy. Bullshit. Get lost as far as you can. Senior brother, go. Kill this bastard. Killing God Chen Hao, how can a woman provoke him? Coiling Dragon directly shouted. Pulsed. Boom. Chen Hao looked at Coiling Dragon and praised him. After he finished speaking, he casually glanced at Hu Mainyang. A majestic energy fluctuation erupted from his body as he directly flew towards Broken Peak. Hu Mainyang suddenly glared at Coiling Dragon and snorted coldly. Cough cough. I'm talking about Morichis. Don't be too emotional, okay? I, Coiling Dragon, am not a coward. Coiling Dragon suddenly felt the endless pressure that Hu Mainyang released towards him and said with a slightly embarrassed expression. It was impossible to be afraid. He was only afraid that if his senior brother had an affair, it would be difficult for him to clean up the mess. Therefore, when facing Hu Mainyang, Coiling Dragon couldn't even say any harsh words. He could only comfort himself with the words, "A good man doesn't fight with a woman." Very good. When Morichi saw Chen Hao on the stage, his flirtatious eyes bloomed with extreme excitement. Killing God Chen Hao. Killing God Chen Hao. After his identity was exposed, Chen Hao went on the stage for the first time. His opponent was the #1 expert of the Zerg race, Morichis. The human cultivators, whether male or female, old or young, all began to howl at the top of their lungs. Buzz buzz buzz. Even the cultivators of the foreign races fell into an unprecedented restlessness. Killing God Chen Hao is finally officially on the stage. After disappearing for 200 years, I wonder how strong he has become. Can he defeat Morichis? It's hard to say. Morichis provoked Chen Hao from the beginning. Obviously, he is very confident and has many powerful trump cards. Moreover, Morichis is an expert of the same level as Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants and Hu Mainyang of the human race. Never underestimate killing God Chen Hao. Otherwise, the price will be death. Trust me. The buzzing sounds of discussion were unprecedented. Since the start of the competition, no one had caused such a big commotion. Nye Fan of the Protoss race who was still in the state of healing, Lu Qianye who was suppressing him, Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants race who displayed terrifying strength, and even the leader of the human race, Hu Mainyang. At this moment, they couldn't continue to remain calm. Their minds were in full bloom as they nervously locked onto Broken Peak. Everyone wanted to know what kind of combat power the killing god Chen Hao, who had been silent for 200 years, had. Chapter 828. Kikik. I'm very happy that you're here. This is the kind of man that I admire. You should admire male insects. Clang. A golden spear suddenly appeared in Chen Hao's hand. As if it had been sealed for too long, the spear's spirit emitted a murderous and bloodthirsty cry. Chen Hao's black hair danced wildly as his spiritual altar bloomed. Endless murderous aura filled the air. Just the aura alone was enough to dye the entire Broken Peak red. What a strong murderous aura. Oh my god, it's too terrifying. Murderous aura. How many experts did he have to kill to have such an imposing manner? Killing god. He's indeed the killing god. Countless exclamations of admiration sounded out from the crowd, and their horrified gazes stared fixedly at the figure that deterred the surroundings before the battle had even begun. It was as if they'd seen the god of slaughter, Chen Hao, slaughtering all along the way with his spear, and the arrogant figure that stepped on ghastly bones and dyed the sky red with blood. Kikik, what a strong murderous intent, But it's useless against me. Hiss 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 hiss. The 8 snake heads that Maurice's had retracted suddenly appeared at this moment. Their forked tongues of different colors flickered, making her incomparably enchanting figure even more strange and terrifying. A terrifying and ever-changing aura and a strong fighting spirit soared into the sky, blocking Chen Hao's murderous aura 1,000 feet away from her. It could not get any closer. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The collision of auras caused a terrifying explosion. At this moment, Chen Hao and Morichi's snorted coldly at the same time. One thrust his spear forward, while the other spat out her tongue. The battle was about to start. All the clamor, discussions, and cheers stopped abruptly. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning, flying sand and stones. 8 different types of energy mixed together. Marissa seemed to have sealed the entire space into a world of energy dominated by her. Her power was unparalleled. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Killing God Chen Hao is just SOSO. Although it looks like they are evenly matched, our Queen Mo Li has the absolute upper hand. The 8-division Heavenly Dragon traverses tens of thousands of zhang. Killing God Chen Hao is unable to harm Queen Mo Li at all. That's right. Queen Maori is a 9-headed divine dragon. As long as the chief god is not killed, she can resurrect infinitely as an 8-step divine dragon unless her energy is depleted. Swoosh! Swoosh! The excited discussions and cheers of the insectoids grew louder and louder. Even the foreign cultivators had the same thought. On the other hand, the human clan was not as imposing as when Chen Hao first appeared. They all looked solemn and were not optimistic about Chen Hao's current situation. The killing god is invincible in close combat, and no one can stop him in close combat. But this Morichi's was obviously prepared. He blocked the killer god from 10,000 feet away from the beginning. If the killer god can't break through and get close, the situation won't be optimistic. Fuck, this woman is actually so strong. How strong is boss's combat power? It should be more than this, right? If we really can't get close to it, we might really be in danger. Brother Pan, if you were here, would you be able to achieve a breakthrough? If I could, I wouldn't be worried. This woman has 8 tongues, and she's even more cunning and vicious than you. Yet she's even more powerful than I am. If I were to fight her, I would definitely suffocate to death. Pan Long stared at Chen Hao, who was still fighting fiercely, and said, "But Senior Brother has already stepped into the late stage of the heavenly celestial stage. His absolute strength should be even stronger. Fuck, if I had known, I would have fought Senior Brother. Now, Senior Brother has been in seclusion for 200 years. No one knows how he's doing. Yes, that's not right. Hu Mainyang should know." Du Jing suddenly looked at Hu Mainyang. When Pan Long heard Du Jing's words, he immediately turned to look at Hu Mainyang, who was not far away. After Chen Hao came out of seclusion, he rushed here directly. When he came here, he was completely entangled with Hu Mainyang. Although they knew that there was some agreement between the two, and that they should also be cultivating, no one knew what exactly they were doing. However, one thing was certain. Hu Mainyang had participated in Chen Hao's cultivation of heaven's punishment. Hu Mainyang should more or less be more clear about Chen Hao's current combat power. But, at this moment, Hu Mainyang's expression did not change at all. She only stared at Chen Hao, who was fighting on Broken Peak. She seemed to be immersed in it, and no one could see any emotional fluctuations at all. Fuck, I couldn't tell. It should be fine. If it's something, I don't believe that she won't be nervous. Not to mention that she has long taken a liking to Boss. Even if it's for the sake of the human race and her own interests, she will still show it. Brother Pan, look, the sisters-in-law don't seem to be worried at all. Is it just the two of us who are worried for nothing? No, after this, no matter what, I have to fight with Senior Brother a few times. As brothers, if I don't understand my brother's true strength, what kind of brother are we? I support you mentally, Brother Pan. Chen Hao, how is the first dish this king has prepared for you? If this is all you have, then this king will be very disappointed. This king is looking forward to fighting with you in close combat. Dragon and Phoenix. Morissus, who was nearly 1,000 miles away, swayed her slender waist and laughed like a flower. Mysterious laws of divine power were continuously injected into the 8 forked tongues, controlling the battle with ease. It tastes like wax. Break. Buzz. As Chen Hao spoke, his physical body suddenly emitted a light that was brighter than the sun. A terrifying vibrating sound erupted from the golden spear. In an instant, the spear turned into a swimming dragon, and the sky was filled with spear shadows. It was as if the scorching sun had pierced through the dark clouds. His aura and strength didn't increase by much at this moment, but the divine power contained within and his speed had increased by several times. No matter how the 8 forked tongues entangled him, he still rode the wind and broke through the waves, breaking through the air and advancing forward. Could 10,000 dragons emerge? Rumble. Chen Hao suddenly went berserk. Before the human race had time to feel excited, they were all stunned by the terrifying ultimate technique that Morissus released. They all sucked in cold breaths. The incomparably beautiful mane head opened its mouth and spurted out, and the 8 division heavenly dragons disappeared. Instead, they were replaced by colorful divine dragons that connected their heads and tails into a single line like a string of cannons. Endless pressure swept through heaven and earth, and the energy it carried was like a mountain and an ocean. It covered the sky and earth as it charged toward Chen Hao. 10,000 dragons are too strong. Even the Zerg Queen of the Daluo Golden Wonderland can't hatch and control 10,000 insect soldiers. The female Zerg were respected, and the heavenly immortal realm could be called the queen. If a queen didn't consider the strongest combat power, she could transform into an army of Zerg. Moreover, every member of the army would be completely controlled by the queen. Without a doubt, this was one of the most powerful talents of the Zerg. This was also the reason why Morissus had expressed her interest in Chen Hao in front of the cultivators of the 10 major galaxies. If she could dual cultivate with a super talented human like Chen Hao, she would definitely be able to condense batches of terrifying mutated insect soldiers. In the future, it would not be impossible for her to dominate the entire Zerg race. However, no heavenly immortal realm queen of the Zerg race had ever been able to achieve 10,000 insect soldiers. At least, the cultivators of the Zerg race had never heard of it. However, Morissus, the queen who had full combat power before entering the primitive mystic realm, had achieved it. Crazy Queen Zerg. At this moment, even Hu Mainyang frowned slightly, and there was a hint of nervousness in her eyes. Even if I were to go against her, I'm afraid I would have a 50% chance of winning. No wonder she's so confident. Morissus's talent is so strong. Chu Feiyang of the Tyrants frowned. Obviously, the power that Morissus displayed was beyond his expectations. If this female Zerg could be subdued by me and become my insect pet, that would be great. With the strongest bloodline of the Protoss, it's possible for us to dominate the 10 major galaxies in the future. Lu Qinye of the Protoss's eyes flickered as he stared at the beautiful figure of Morissus from the Zerg race. You're just an insect. How dare you call yourself a dragon? If one comes, I'll kill one. If a pair comes, I'll kill a pair. Boom. Faced with the giant 7-colored snakes flying towards him like locusts, the murderous intent in Chen Hao's mind was completely ignited. A bloodthirsty emotion instantly filled his state of mind. This was not an illusion of energy, but the insect soldiers that Morissus had condensed. The bloodline aura in them was the fuse that ignited the murderous intent. At this moment, Chen Hao did not even charge forward. He waved his golden spear wildly in his hand, and in an instant, flesh and blood flew everywhere. The strong stench of blood filled the entire sky. The roar was like thunder rolling out. The god of killing Chen Hao had become a real god of killing at this moment. He was bathed in blood. This is the second dish that I've prepared for you. Enjoy it slowly. I'm looking forward to seeing how much energy you have left after killing these 10,000 dragons. Morris's voice, as well as her sometimes seductive and sometimes licentious laughter, sent chills down the spines of all the cultivators. This was only the second dish, and it was already so terrifying. What would the third dish be like? All the cultivators present, whether it was the Zerg race or the other 9 galaxies, knew that the Zerg race insect soldiers would not consume any energy from Morris. It would only consume a little of her mind. Although her insect soldiers were far inferior to ordinary heavenly immortal cultivators, they were powerful in numbers and were not afraid of death. This was like ants biting an elephant to death. Just thinking about it made one's hair stand on end. Puff, puff, boom, boom, boom. The god of killing Chen Hao's black hair danced wildly. Every spear was stained with blood, ending the life of one or even several insect soldiers. The moment each insect soldier died, it would become a body bomb, exploding its own energy to attack Chen Hao. If it were 10 or 100, it would be nothing to Chen Hao. However, there were 10,000 of them. Without a doubt, if Chen Hao continued like this, even if he could kill all 10,000 insect soldiers, the consumption would be huge. At that time, what would happen if he faced Morris, who was almost at her peak state? Chapter 829. Only kill. Chen Hao's glabella instantly turned into a blood-red amber. The blood-red crystal shot out in all directions like a bloodthirsty demon god's eye, coldly looking at everything and harvesting lives. As he moved, the spear shot out in all directions, and flesh and blood flew everywhere. His blood-stained robe and cold eyes turned all the insect soldiers in front of him into dead objects. Killing God Chen Hao, at this moment, became a real killing machine, stepping on the sea of blood and flesh, all the way forward. Bloodthirsty killing god. Killing God Chen Hao. What a powerful combat skill. Clean and neat, without a trace of energy wasted. He doesn't need to use any moves, and the insects will die as soon as the spear shoots out. No wonder he's called the killing god. Who can resist the invasion of such killing intent? The evil thoughts of killing are rooted in the soul imprint. Is he trying to become a demon through killing, to prove his Tao through killing? Since ancient times, no one has succeeded. You're wrong. If that's the case, his title won't be killing god, but killing demon. You've never seen it before. You're all insect soldiers now, so of course you can't see it. But back then, Chen Hao, the god of slaughter, slaughtered his way through the non-humankind army without losing his mind. He didn't hurt any human being by accident, and he even saved countless human beings. His willpower is ridiculously strong. At least until now, the evil thoughts of killing can't make him succumb. Invincible in close combat. I finally understand why killing God Chen Hao is publicly recognized as invincible in close combat. His physical body was ridiculously strong. He simply allowed the insect soldiers to self-destruct without any defense. Coupled with this supreme combat skill that could turn complex into simple, who would be able to defeat him in the same realm and with the same strength? Unfortunately, he met the insect queen, who can be called, no, definitely an empress-level Morris's. How? Qin Shui, who was wearing a blue dress, had her breasts moving up and down. Electric arcs surrounded her, and her beautiful face bloomed with a touch of uncontrollable excitement. After 200 years of seclusion, he had emerged with a strong momentum. Without any suspense, he had become the most dazzling existence. Regardless of whether he won or lost in this battle, his title of killing god would remain unshakable. Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yu, the sisters, and even Bailey Ningbing, a cultivator from planet Wuji, felt their hearts tremble at this moment. It was as if they were looking at a youth who came from the mortal world step by step. Everywhere he went, he would become the most dazzling existence. Now, in the clash between the top geniuses of the 10 major galaxies, he was still shining brightly. No one could cover up his brilliance. So what if it's a 10,000 insect army? Big Brother himself was a miracle. This time, Big Brother will create the miracle as well. His true fighting prowess isn't even worthy of carrying Big Brother's shoes. No one knew what the eccentric Qinling was thinking at this moment. Of course, no one knew that before Chen Hao came out of seclusion, Chen Ling, who had already reached the Yin divinity stage, was easily sealed by Chen Hao and fell into a boundless illusion. Although she didn't resist at that time, she knew that the result would be the same. Now, Big Brother has already broken through to the late stage of Sky Immortal. How strong is he now? Chen Ling was excited just thinking about it. Strong, strong, strong. What is arrogant? What is fierce? What is ruthless? Damn it. I think we should forget about it. There is no need to test senior brother's strength for now. No way, Brother Pan. As a brother, how can I not understand my brother's fighting prowess? Of course, I am still waiting to see the exciting battle between you and Big Brother after this. Fuck off. Although I like to fight, I am not a masochist. But it is not a good idea for senior brother to continue like this. So what? There is no other way. We can only kill all the insect soldiers. Big Brother's recovery ability is unparalleled. There is still hope. As long as that mother insect isn't too strong. Bullshit. To be able to condense 10,000 insect soldiers, there has never been one in the history of insect race. How can it not be strong? Damn it, this is only her second dish. This is so fucking scary. Are you enjoying the battle and killing? Hu Mainyang, who knew Chen Hao's current fighting prowess the best, frowned slightly as she muttered to herself. Endless Taoist laws could not help but revolve around her as her emotions fluctuated. Her charming eyes stared at the cold and ruthless Chen Hao who was killing crazily. Until now, you still haven't revealed that you have cultivated the secular Heart Sutra. You haven't even used the secular Sword Dao that can save energy. Is it true that love grows with time? You and I can no longer do whatever we want. I didn't do it, and you didn't do it either. But I, Hu Mainyang, am the current saintess of the Misty Rain Pavilion. How can I fall in love? Buzz. Hu Mainyang's forehead suddenly trembled imperceptibly before her expression returned to normal. If there is anyone to conquer, it should be you. You willingly begged me to be my Dao protector. Boom, 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 boom. Endless blood dyed the entire sky red. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood piled up. God of Slaughter Chen Hao advanced proudly. 100, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, as the endless blood and flesh spread out, the killing intent between Chen Hao's eyebrows became brighter and brighter. It was as if a real pupil had appeared, producing a terrifying deterrent force. What was even more shocking was that it actually started to devour the extremely dense blood and qi with visible ripples, causing the killing intent on Chen Hao's body to become stronger and stronger, more and more frightening. Even though there was a seal between them, it still made the nearby experts' hair stand on end. 7,000, 8,000. 8,000, but God of Slaughter Chen Hao's aura hasn't weakened at all. How is this possible? He's too powerful. 9,000. Is he an arrow at the end of its flight, or has he fallen into the killing intent and become a killing demon? If he becomes a killing demon, he will definitely devour the blood and flesh energy crazily. As time passed, the more the cultivators watched, the more shocked they became. Even the top experts like Chu Feiyang had completely lost their composure at this moment. The battle skills and battle prowess displayed by Death God Chen Hao were simply too terrifying. His Zhen Yuan, divine sense, essence, qi, and spirit seemed endless. Even now, not only had they not weakened in the slightest, they had become even more ferocious. If Chen Hao had fallen into the killing intent and devoured the blood and flesh energy crazily, it would be understandable. But Chen Hao was only devouring the killing intent sword soul between his eyebrows. It shouldn't be like this at all. In such an intense battle, it's impossible to recover so quickly. There's only one explanation. Either he's an arrow at the end of its flight, or his true core strength, qi, and spirit are unbelievably majestic. When God of Slaughter Chen Hao stepped into the fairy immortal realm, he attracted the wrath of the heavens. And it's said that he's ridiculously strong. It should be. The energy in his body itself is as vast as the sea. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. I didn't expect that I, Chu Feiyang, had underestimated you after all. With such strength, even if you lost to the perverted queen, Morichis, you're still very strong. Even I didn't expect Morichis to have hidden her strength so deeply. She's at the fairy immortal realm and has the strength of the queen of bugs. Fortunately, the human race met her first, and fortunately, the human race didn't send a random cultivator to deal with her. Otherwise, no matter who met Morichis, most of their strength would be consumed by the bugs. I can't do it, Hu Mainyang definitely can't do it, and Nye Fan from the divine race is even more impossible. The top expert of the tyrants, Chu Feiyang, thought in his heart. At this point, Chu Feiyang had no choice but to admit defeat. Even though he didn't fight, he could already predict the result. It wasn't that he was inferior to Morichis, but the insect soldiers of the insect race were equivalent to accumulating strength. They themselves were extremely heaven-defying existences. What was more frightening was that Morichis had an unprecedented talent in condensing insect soldiers. Otherwise, if it was just the Queen's 1,000 insect soldiers, there would be nothing to be afraid of. Boom. Just when everyone was shocked by Chen Hao's ability to fight for a long time, Morichis finally couldn't stay calm anymore. Roar. The incomparably beautiful figure instantly exuded a dense aura and expanded thousands of times in an instant, turning into a giant python that was thousands of feet long, covered with colorful scales, and had 9 huge heads. It covered the sky and the sun, and its momentum was boundless. God of Massacre Chen Hao, you are indeed the God of Massacre Chen Hao. I didn't expect that the second dish would not be much of a threat to you. You are indeed very strong, so strong that you make me excited. No matter what, I will take you under my command and make you my first Taoist companion, a real Taoist companion. Come on the third dish. As fast as lightning, Morichis, who had transformed into his original form, suddenly rushed toward Chen Hao, who was surrounded by insect soldiers. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, the remaining thousands of insect soldiers were like locusts that were not afraid of death as they violently shot toward Chen Hao, cooperating with Morichis' attack. The insect soldiers were like cannonballs. Wherever Morichis' body passed, the void collapsed, and there was a rumbling explosion. No one could describe how powerful this attack was. Everyone, including Hu Mainyang, opened their mouths wide in shock. Screams rang out incessantly. Countless human cultivators could not help but shout for killing God Chen Hao to admit defeat and retreat. The insectoids, on the other hand, screamed excitedly, venting the excitement in their hearts. This was definitely the strongest queen that the insectoids had seen in a million years. There was no one like her. At this moment, Chen Hao, who had completely lost his mind and turned into a killing machine, suddenly narrowed his eyes and finally revealed a touch of human emotion. Solemnity. She is so strong. Tens of thousands of insect soldiers had already surprised Chen Hao, and he had to reveal his peak combat skills, vigorous vital energy, essence, and spirit, as well as his heaven-defying recovery ability. Now, just by the aura that Morichis released, Chen Hao knew that if he didn't use his strongest trump card, it would not be a simple defeat. Come on then. Boom. Without the slightest hesitation, Chen Hao directly raised his battle intent, essence, energy, spirit, true essence, and physical strength to the peak. Every single cell in his body started to burn and emitted crackling sounds of explosions. Surging vital energy and blood shot into the sky like a divine sword that pierced through the sky and pierced the sky. His body was like a longbow that was suddenly pulled to its limit. Endless power was crazily poured into the golden spear that he held horizontally. The spear light was not exposed, and its color became brighter and brighter. Chapter 830. Go! Boom! With a loud shout, the golden spear, which was infused with terrifying power and endless runes, exploded like fireworks. With a boom, it tore through the void and shot toward the giant python like a dart. It's useless. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. The huge snake's forked tongue spat out a terrifying power that swept towards the golden spear. But at this moment, 5 swords with different colors and sharp sword chi flew out from between Chen Hao's eyebrows as fast as lightning. A 5-colored ring that connected the 5 swords floated above his head. The 5 swords hung upside down in 5 directions, with Chen Hao in the middle. The Xianhuang ring and the 5-element sword. But they were definitely not the original Xianhuang ring and the 5-element sword. Whether it was the grade, the materials, or the complicated runes on them, they were all combined magic treasures that Chen Hao had specially condensed with his strongest power when he was practicing the Great 5 Elements art during the 200 years of seclusion. The Great 5 Elements art was one of the top 10 unique skills of the 3,000 Great Ways. The 5 types of energy corresponded to the 5 basic unique skills, which were the Greenwood Emperor skill, the Heavenly Fire Fist, the Platinum Sky-Splitting Cut, the Blackwater Palm, and the Mountain Crushing skill. Only by practicing the 5 basic unique skills to the extreme, and then using the mysteries of the 5 elements, and combining them into one, and performing them at the same time, could one be considered to have reached the basic level. Strictly speaking, as long as one comprehended the profundities of the 5 elements, one would be able to cultivate it and succeed in it. However, as one's comprehension of the laws of heaven deepened, the might of the 5 elements would differ greatly from one another. For example, when Chen Hao was at a lower realm, he used the Platinum Sky-Splitting Cut as a killing move. Now, he could kill thousands of people like him in a second. During the 200 years of seclusion, Chen Hao had practiced the Great 5 Elements art for at least dozens of years, until he could use it as a trump card. Moreover, Chen Hao, who already had his own Dao, couldn't practice the Great 5 Elements art untouched. The same power and the same absolute art would have different powers when used by different people. It was also because of this principle that some inherited absolute arts became stronger and stronger, while some became weaker and weaker with each passing generation. This was also because the cultivators kept on fusing their own Daos into it. What's that? 5 elements combination magic treasure? What pure origin energy? Is this the strongest unique skill of the god of killing Chen Hao? I've never seen him use it. Can this be used against Morisset? Whether it was the cultivators who weren't familiar with Chen Hao, or who Mainyang and the others who were familiar with Chen Hao, they were all incomparably shocked when they saw a ring and 5 swords suddenly appear above Chen Hao's head. At the moment when everyone was surprised, Chen Hao's crazily soaring aura suddenly burst out with a roar that resounded through the world. Immediately, the yellow ring of 5 elements sword burst out with 5 types of extremely pure origin energy. At this moment, Chen Hao's body was divided into 5. Greenwood Emperor Skill, Heavenly Fire Fist, Platinum Sky Slash, Blackwater Palm, and Earth Collapsing Mountain Spell. 5 unique skills were used at the same time. At this moment, the world lost its color, and everything was silent. It was as if space had collapsed and time had stopped. The 5 basic unique skills combined into one, and the Great 5 Elements art of 3,000 Great Tao appeared. 5 intertwined rays of 5-colored brilliance. Wherever they passed, thousands of insect soldiers were annihilated instantly. Not even dregs were left. It was mighty and unstoppable as it met the insufferably arrogant Morisset. What? Ah! Oh my God, this! All kinds of exclamations burst out from all directions. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Oh no! Morisset, who was confident of victory, suddenly narrowed her eyes as she felt a strong threat of death. What unique skill is this? How can it be so terrifying? Fight! Boom! Morisset, who had been holding back a little as a trump card, released all of her power at this moment without hesitation. At this point, it was already impossible for her to avoid it even if she wanted to. When 2 enemies met on a narrow path, the brave would win. She knew that she could not defeat Killer God Chen Hao in this collision, but she had no choice but to use all of her power to fight back. This was already beyond her understanding. She had never thought that Killer God Chen Hao's trump card would be so powerful. If she had known, she would never have chosen to fight head-on first. Unfortunately, there was no way out now. Retreat. Retreat. The experts from the 10 galaxies who were close to the front suddenly shouted. Boom, boom, boom. In fact, there was no need to remind them. The terrifying explosion and raging rune energy from the seal had already let the surrounding cultivators know what was going to happen. One by one, they frantically activated their protective chi and retreated rapidly. Fortunately, those who were qualified to stand in front were all top experts. In an instant, they formed a chain of movements. The seal formed by the joint efforts of 10,000 experts collapsed directly. The broken peak turned into dust out of thin air. The endless surrounding mountains collapsed, and heaven and earth were in chaos. I admit defeat. Oh. Boom, boom, boom. Only the giant snake head in the middle was still intact. The other 8 snake heads were smashed into pieces. They dragged their bodies that were only a few feet long and were covered in wounds as they fled toward the insect race's camp. The strong smell of blood and the pressure of killing swept across the entire world. In the billowing dust, killer god Shen Hao, who was covered in blood and also heavily injured, broke through the air with a murderous aura. The dark yellow ring and the 5-element sword were still suspended above his head, flowing with 5-colored light. Everyone was stunned in midair, staring at killer god Shen Hao, who was still surging with terrifying energy and pressure. The strongest genius of the insect race, Morissette, had lost. Killer god Shen Hao. The number 1 expert of the tyrants, Chu Feiyang, felt a sense of powerlessness from the bottom of his heart. He was full of helplessness as he thought about the name that he did not take to heart before this battle. How could he be so abnormal? How could he? Lu Qianye of the Protoss, who used to be high profile but actually kept a low profile, was also disturbed by Chen Hao's heaven-defying attack. The most fundamental power of the 5 elements. The 5 elements circulate, and the unique skills of the 5 elements are combined into one. They complement each other and circulate endlessly. Could it be the legendary unique skill of the 5 elements patriarch that reached the peak of the Great Path? It must be so. Unique skill of the Great Path. It must be. Killer god Shen Hao. Killer god Shen Hao. After a short silence, when everyone began to discuss in unison, someone among the human race cultivators took the lead to shout out the words, Killer god Shen Hao. Immediately, the entire human race was in an uproar. Killer god Shen Hao, in his first battle after 200 years, had revealed his true identity and deterred the 10 major galaxies. 4-1. In the endless cheers, everyone seemed to have forgotten that the battle between the human race and the insect race was not over yet. This made Shen Hao, who was the focus of everyone's attention, spit out a few words. Coiling Dragon, you go. Yes, senior brother. Coiling Dragon replied excitedly. His huge and valiant body directly soared into the sky, and the aura of an ancient beast filled the air. Because of Chen Hao's stimulation, his battle intent rose to a terrifying level. Chu Feiyang, as the commander, shouldn't you condense the seal and rebuild the arena? Good. Thousands of experts from the major galaxies will condense the seal together. Rise. To rumble, Chu Feiyang was not careless. He took the lead and moved mountains and filled in rocks. With his own strength, he directly rebuilt the arena with a supreme divine ability. Immediately, the experts of the 10 major galaxies worked together again and condensed the seal to protect the arena. Then, the second expert of the insect race appeared. Judging by his aura alone, he was definitely not inferior to Coiling Dragon. However, from the beginning of the battle, he was completely suppressed by Coiling Dragon's wild attacks and was defeated without any suspense. It was not that the second expert of the insect race was too weak, but Maurice almost lost his life in defeat. To any insect race member, it was an unbearable burden. Their momentum was gone, and they lost their confidence. It could be said that they were defeated like a landslide. Then, the insect race sent out their third expert. Chen Ling took the initiative and used his soul attack to easily win the battle, allowing the human race to obtain the final victory. 6. Miss Emily, how are you? Are you mocking this prince? I wouldn't dare. Miss Emily, no matter if it is combat power or talent, you are the best in the insect race. Especially in the talent of your insect soldiers, it is unprecedented. What do you want to say? Just say it. I still need to heal. Does Miss Mo Li only have eyes for the killing god Chen Hao? Why, Lu Qinya, do you think that you should be there? Or are you willing to follow me? If that is the case, although you are very ordinary, I do not mind following you. The bloodline of the Protoss is not bad. Miss Mo Li, although I have always kept a low profile, since I am here to talk to you, I naturally have the ability to make you work with me. Protoss? Even Nye Fan has no right to talk about working with me, let alone you. Nye Fan is just a puppet that I have purposely pushed up. His talent, understanding, and strength are not even worthy of carrying my shoes. There are still close to 1,000 years left in the primitive secret territory. Although I am unable to fight against the killing god Chen Hao now, as long as we work together, I believe that we will be able to get what we need. You have not even shown your strength. Why should I believe you? If I show my strength now, it will cause unnecessary trouble. Otherwise, I would not have come to talk to you. Don't be in a hurry to reject me. When this battle is over, we can meet secretly. You will be satisfied. It is impossible for you to get the killing god Chen Hao on your own, but I can help you. Think about it and tell me the location. No one knew that Lu Qinya of the Protoss had secretly communicated with the severely injured Morris. The terrifying strength that the killing god Chen Hao had shown made Lu Qinya change his mind. He decided to keep a low profile until the end, and Morris became the target that he wanted to use, Little Lien. Yes. Looking at the murderous and soul-stirring Chen Hao, Tantai Lien knew what Chen Hao wanted to do when she was called. She blushed slightly and went to Chen Hao's side. We will be back in 3 days. Don't worry. Whoosh. Chen Hao said to the girls and the others. Then he pulled Tantai Lien and broke through the air, disappearing from everyone's sight in an instant. The remaining murderous aura did not dissipate. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.